We are live. Welcome to the RedBlue Pod number 22. And today we got somewhat of a different stream than usual because we keep the movies for the next stream we will make. Probably, well, not probably. It should be on the night of Friday to Saturday. So depending on your time zone, if you are like Cole in the Central Time Zone, it will be 11 p.m. Friday. But if you are Eastern Time, like New York time, it will be 1 a.m. Saturday. So yeah, we will have Chillmonger on. We will talk about Rocky and Creed over there. So as of today, we are only covering the TV shows we usually cover with this podcast. So with that being said, how are you, DC?
Pretty good. Last couple of days still have been very, very rough. I had some very bad thoughts in my mind. I don't want to get into it, but let's just say it wasn't that good. But yeah, today was a good day, and so far I've been doing fine.
At least you're doing fine now. I really hope things will
Yeah.
get better, and I strongly believe things always get better at some point. Sometimes it can take a long time, but it does get better at some point. Um, what about you, Cole? How are you?
Pretty good. Again, I had, for the most part, a good week, but yeah, something happened today, which is a private matter, and pissed me the hell off, and I probably have to deal with it later today or something. But other than that, pretty alright. And yeah, I mean, there are some days that are shitty. Your life might be filled with mostly shitty moments like the odd year, but I mean the positives throughout the year are still worth it. So
Yeah, I agree with that statement. I'm 100% on board with it. So, you had time to watch The Flash fifth season, did you?
yeah.
Okay, so I will say that that's the second topic because the first one will be the episode we got last week, episode 11. So that's the first topic. But yeah, I will say this before we get into season 5. I think this is DC favorite season, and
No. That's season 6. I
oh,
do enjoy season 5 though. Yeah.
I truly hated the guts out of season 5, and I thought season 6 did a lot of amazing things, but it also did really bad things. So I think it's the lowest point of the show, and yeah, that's just to reassure you, Cole. Season 6 is slightly better overall. Um, so yeah, I guess now we can start with the Flash discussion as I am trying to find my notes. Guys can start off episode 11 discussion as I am searching for my notes. Who wants to start?
I will, I
Uh,
guess.
yeah.
Alright. I thought this episode was pretty bad, and there are a lot of confusing things about this episode, if you really ask me.
Yeah. What about
Yeah.
you? Cool.
Uh, I don't know. It had some potential at the start, and then it just fell on its face. There's a lot of stupid in this, as Jada would say. There's a lot of stupid, and also I died of laughter in that like CGI scene where he's turning into ash. That was so poorly done.
Speaking about Jaded, we need to find a way to have him on at some point. Do you know if he has seen Guardian of the Galaxy?
Oh yeah,
The tree?
he made a whole thing. Yeah, yeah. Again, he sees old comic book movies, so invite him anytime, especially MCU films, and he'll talk about how stupid they are and how everybody's idiots for liking them, and it's hilarious. It's great.
So
Definitely invite him on.
we will actually try to get him on our stream when DC is not around because we cover all three Garden. And do you know if he has seen
Oh,
Netflix TV shows.
Probably. Again, he sees like pretty much everything superhero, comic book related. You name it. It's like you've seen basically everything out there. Besides like CW shows, I would guess.
Because he hates CW.
Just doesn't care for it. That's all.
Okay.
And
And
yeah, he loves Doom Patrol though. So if you ever cover that,
oh,
that and preacher he really liked.
we could actually cover that in future installment. Um, yeah, because I think Jaded is hilarious. I really like his videos. He's amazing. We really need to get him on at some point. But yeah, okay. Um, I will have the different take here about this week episode of The Flash. I actually enjoyed it a lot, and I was surprised because I liked episode 9 and 10, and I was like, there is no way Eric Polas can do better, and I feel like he actually did better. And what surprises me the most is the fact that there was no Flash around this week, and I still thought the episode was kind of good and entertaining. I enjoyed Malcolm character, or Eddie, or I'm confused. That's the same actor. Maybe that's what confuses me. Um,
Yeah. The character's name is Malcolm Gilmore. Apparently that's the character's name.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed the entire mystery around him, and yeah, I want to see more. And usually when the Flash is not around in the Flash, this really hurts the episode for me. Like most of the interlude where the Flash is not the focus, it's kind of bad. But this week the Flash wasn't really around, but it was still very good. Um, so yeah. Um, I guess we can dive deep into it. Um, DC. What would be your
Alright.
issues with this
Yeah. Also, if you see anything pop up, ignore that. I'm just testing something out.
okay.
All right.
So yeah, DC. What would be your issues with this week episode?
I have a lot. I'm gonna kind of start with the beginning. So I'm kind of confused on the whole time travel, on the whole future subplot, because when Malcolm's character goes into the captain's station, or the captain's area, whatever it's called, and he talks to the captain, she explains that she says that she will work with Eddie Dawn, but this takes place in the future.
No.
And
That's
wait,
no. I think that's the present day at that time.
oh,
Yeah, that's
oh,
present day. Where the episode picked up something when he got struck by the lightning. Last week he was in the future, but now he is in the present day, and he didn't realize he was in present day. Well, I
oh,
should say that's basically his past, basically. So right now, we are in the present, and Malcolm is in the present for us, but he's from the
oh,
future,
well, that now explains a lot. Well,
and
that helps.
that's also is supported by the fact that Captain Kramer said she would retire earlier this season. So the fact that we got a new captain makes sense because Captain Kramer retired.
Yeah. Well, at least that's one aspect, one negative turned into at least sort of a positive. But yeah, in terms of other negatives I had, I feel like at this point, Eric Wallace doesn't not know how to make episodes interlink. Like this episode and last week episodes can literally have been merged into one. Literally, it could have been you could have had this episode deal with um the aftermath of Barry, which even then I still feel like last week and this episode could have been merged together. Like last week we had the Barry and Dawn stuff. This week we had the Team Flash stuff, which I feel like interlinking both storylines is not that difficult. I don't know why Eric Wallace always thinks, man, that's really difficult. I need to put in more Kyo, more Chegra stuff because more important than interlinking both episodes, which makes the most sense. Um, Other stuff I didn't like. I really hate how by the end of the episode Barry just straight up returns and with no explanation unless if it's somehow due to the cobalt blue mist.
I hated that part as well. That was so dumb.
Yeah, it's like I'm like okay, so Barry just just returns to the present day with no explanation, and they're probably not going to explain next week's episode either. And it's like, what happened? Where did you go after Dawn? After you teleported, went in front of Dawn, and I'm like, where did you go? And they never explain. I don't think he even mentions it, and I don't think we're gonna get the answer until next week's episode.
Here's the wild guess. I won't try to defend it because I don't think it's a defense. It's more a guess. Barry and Malcolm probably switch timelines. So maybe Malcolm was like in the 2000s, but he doesn't remember or something like that. And when Malcolm joined like present day, Barry goes to the future or something like that. That could be what he's trying to do, but that's only a guess. As I said, I'm not trying to defend that. I think they like switch around stuff like that. That would be the only, if that really happens the way I'm saying it, that would be the only way to explain that plot hole. But I don't know. That's just a guess. Do you have any other issues?
Keon. I don't get the point of her character. All she does is just ramble about nature and everything's good. And I'm like, just shut up. I don't want this character on screen, please. Oh my god! Like every time Keon appears, it gets annoyingly stupid for me. It gets stupid and annoying. It's like I don't want her on screen. I rather want to learn more about what's going on with the main villain, not Keon.
Anything else?
I think that's about it.
I think that's a lot, and that's good. I like it. People having other opinion is always entertaining to hear about. What about you, Cole? What would be your issues?
Yeah, I didn't like the pacing at all, or the scene construction. I thought it was really off. Again, I liked things happening in this episode for once. I actually thought it was somewhat interesting, and I would say the performances again were good, but and some intriguing characters and such. But yeah, I did not like that part of it or how the episode was really made. It was better than other episodes. I just I don't know. I thought it was not good, not terrible, not good either. I'd say the editing was shit. Direction was really weird in this episode. I didn't really understand what they were kind of going for, if anything at all. And there were just so many loopholes and things that made little sense in this. And yeah, writing didn't really like either. And I think this was just like, this is like the third last episode of The Flash, isn't it?
Yeah, there are 2 other episodes, and the show is over.
This episode literally just feels like them. And like, how do I say it? It's like they had plans to do stuff and do it properly, but then they realized they only had like 13 episodes left. So they just made these like last couple episode. Well, maybe not the last one, but yeah, this episode and probably the next two episodes. Just a cough out on so many things just to speed up the process. That's what it feels like. Uh, and yeah, not a good episode. I will say there's been a lot worse this season. Definitely a lot worse. Like almost all the
Yeah.
episodes. I would say almost all the episodes in the first half, besides. I would say the second episode is maybe on par with this, but other than that, yeah, all the ones in the first half are probably way worse than this. So, maybe in the open and not when I think about it, I was probably being a little too harsh by calling this episode really bad. But I don't know, it was really dumb as well, though. Like that's the best way to describe it. Like not bad, but pretty fucking dumb. And again, that scene where he was turned into ash, that was embarrassing. And yeah, okay, I'm done now.
Okay, so I only got one issue, and I will also share a side note after I share that issue. They don't really explain Kiln powers. She just does what the blood needs her to do, which is something all over the place in Titan. It's like they don't freaking bother explaining sci-fi aspect. They are too lazy, or not smart enough, or both. Maybe it's both. They just throw powers out there. They're like, oh yeah, she has that power. She can do that. Okay, can you like explain to me how this works? Like Flash didn't always explain every single thing, but I think overall in the show, most of the time they did explain the sci-fi element well when they were doing it. Like the best example I got is how they explained how Zoom stole Barry's speed with Airy device in season 2. That would be like one of the best example I would get. And yeah, it's just so sad that characters just do whatever the plot wants them to do. I don't like that. I think it's very lazy and incompetent. With that being said, that's my only issue this week, and this is why I think this was actually my favorite episode so far in the season. Even if that shocks me, because I do think episode 10 and 9 were both very good, and it feels like season 2 quality again. So yeah, I'm pleased. I really enjoyed that episode. So here is my side note. This is how we make a Flash episode without the Flash in it. I say that because Eric Wallace did so many attempts, and I feel like every single time he freaking failed. Like, all of the episodes without the Flash in it are among the worst in the show. Let's be honest, they're poorly received most of the time. Uh, except when some people have a different take or different taste, but most of the time when the Flash is not around, the episodes suffer from it. And I didn't thought it suffered that much for not having Barry around this time around. But that's interesting because DC, you mentioned how they could have placed both last episode and this episode together, and I actually agree at some extent. I'm saying like I'm on board with it having two different episodes, but I feel like the editing may be the issue there because the content itself, I'm fine with it being spread out on two episodes, but I feel like some of the scenes this week should have happened last week instead of the Allegra and Chegra scene. I feel like if you have a better editing, it would have flown better. I think it's really the editing, and actually, that's an issue for me. Editing. I didn't thought about it before you brought this up, DC, but that's actually an issue for me. So just because of that, I will actually change my result for that episode. I still enjoyed it a lot, but I realize I have a second issue editing. I didn't thought of it before, but now that you brought that one up, now editing. Editing is another issue. Yeah. So I guess now we can move on to the more positive side. If guys would like to start with more positive stuff, what did you like starting with Cole?
Yeah, again, acting's good, I guess. I don't like how everything was executed. I at least like the story of it that they tried doing with each character throughout the episode. Like, yeah, basically just all that stuff with each character. I really liked this time. I thought it was a bit more interesting than other episodes where I just felt like they were really, how do I say, spreading out the runtime slowly and kind of just not doing much. I thought there was a kind of purpose in this episode compared to others this season. It was just kind of a waste of time. Let's see. I made fun of that Ash scene there. The rest of the CGI was good in this episode. It was actually kind of better than the majority of other episodes, I would say. So is there anything else I like that much? Let's see. Oh yeah, music I guess was alright. Yeah, again. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, that pretty much mentioned everything. And again, that doesn't mean everything else is terrible. Just means it's not, enough that's worth mentioning.
That's not good or bad, and sometimes I have that feeling when I see or hear something. I don't mark down anything because I don't care about it, and I think that's how you picture that. I think that's how you see it. When you don't mention it, it's mid. It's not bad. It's not good. It's just like I don't care. I think that's how you do it. I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's just too bad the pacing and editing really made this feel really incoherent because otherwise it could have had something more here.
Yeah. So what about you, DC? Do you have any likes with this week's episode?
No, I don't. I don't think that there was even a single good thing about this episode.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Okay, so I guess I'll move on with my likes. Um, Malcolm wondering what's going on upon his arrival at the police precinct. I enjoyed that because you're like, okay, now he's in present day, which is very interesting. The team wondering what happened to Barry. That scene there should have been in last week's episode instead of the Chegra crap we got. Allegra Iris speaking about being worried that Barry won't come back. Another scene that should be in the previous episode instead of that one. Malcolm and Captain meeting, so this is rightfully at the right place. I enjoyed that. That show us that this new captain didn't know Eddie in the past, and it's very interesting. So Keon and Chilblain talk. That was a weird one, but I was getting like Chilblain vibe where I'm like, okay, there's something going on with him, and I liked it. I was like, okay, something will happen with him this week. I feel like the seeds of him being controlled by the blue crystal made sense. Both sides can be right. I can't actually remember what I refer to. Chester and Chilblain talk. Here again, more moment where I'm like, it's not my usual Mark. That one, there's something off with him. I kind of knew there was something off with Mark. Chilblain acting weird. The Speed Force saving Iris. this made sense because it was explained that she's connected to Iris and Barry because of the Speed Force and the whole crap we got with season 7. At least that sci-fi aspect was well explained in the past. How she can sense Iris and Barry. Um, Malcolm in Iris' office was interesting. I liked the music. Uh, the Speed Force talking to Nora. I can't remember that. I thought there were a few funny things here and there. Barry and Iris in the hospital. Malcolm trying to find Eddie Buddy. Malcolm learning the truth. Eddie being reborn. Because I believe this is what happens. Like Malcolm and Eddie probably merge or something. I suspect this is what's going on. But they don't bother explaining much. So maybe that will end up being an issue next week. So I guess we can move on to the grade, except if guys would like to share something else.
Not for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at first, I gave this episode a 9.7 out of 10. But here's the thing. After our talk and me realizing the editing was kind of bad and some of the moment we had this week should have been in last week instead of some of the things we had last week, I actually lowered the score for only this week. I won't lower it last week because I feel like last week was still a really strong episode, and the fact that some of the things we got this week didn't happen last week won't really damage last week. It's really like this week it damages because I feel like they kind of missed the timing, you know? So, yeah, now it's a 9.5 out of 10 because editing is a second issue. And not explaining Keon Power is my first issue. So for me, it's a 9.5 out of 10. What about you, DC?
A 4 out of 10.
Okay. And what about you, Cole?
4.
Okay. So, I guess now we can move on to the Flash 5th season. I will mark down the timestamp in the chat. So, who wants to start on the Flash 5th season?
Okay. Yeah, you said you really hated this season, right?
That's the worst season of the show for me. Even worse than 5. Well,
Yeah.
9 depends. Well, we still have 2 episodes for season 9. But yeah, the Flash season 5 is really, really bad for me.
Yeah. Okay, well here's the thing. I don't really have a worse season of The Flash because I don't know. It's hard to tell. When it comes to like seasons such as the last season we covered though before this one, I mean there were I would say higher peaks and lower lows. I would say, but I would say overall though at least the better episodes were more worth it, and the ones that last season that were just like garbage, at least it was kind of funny how garbage they were. With this season also apparently this season I can tell this is when a lot of viewership started to drop off because this isn't as low rated with each episode as it was last season, probably because how many people rated it because they all stopped watching.
Yeah.
Just like Legends of Tomorrow, fucking hell. But anyway, for this season though, like I wouldn't say there were some terrible episodes, sure, but I wouldn't say there were any that were like as garbage or anything as the worst ones from last season. The thing with this season though was, like, genuinely, besides maybe
besides maybe, I mean, I didn't even really like Elseworlds that much, and I don't count that. Like, besides maybe, I guess, episode 8, a lot of people liked, and I mean, I didn't really like it as much as other people, but, besides maybe some episodes like that, though, or maybe episode, I don't know, 18, 17, like, besides maybe some episodes like that, I wouldn't really say there were any episodes in this season in particular that I really liked, though. Like, this season is probably, best way to describe it is there are no episodes that I would give like a 1 out of 10 or anything to, but there's also no episodes I would give like a 7 out of 10 to. I would say this is probably the consistently weakest season yet, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's just there's no high peaks in it at all. It's just from start to finish boring, generic mediocrity. And maybe that makes it the worst because again, there was a lot of garbage episodes in like last season and other seasons and this season, but they're at least they're kind of funny, and then we also have the higher peak episodes. In this one though, there's like nothing. There's like no substance. It's just mediocrity from start to finish, kind of consistently. So, yeah, again, honestly, I would say though, besides some episodes near the end, like apparently there were some people who liked episode 21. I did not at all. And episode 20 was pretty shit, but there were some episodes near the end that were definitely better though. Like, you know, maybe episode 15 and people liked. I didn't hate it or anything. It had some good moments, I guess. Like, you know, there were some near the end that I guess, you know, that were alright. And yeah, the last episode was another that I guess people seem to like online. I, there were, once again, like episode 15, some good moments in that, but, I think they really dropped the ball with the execution, besides maybe like the start of it or whatnot. But yeah, overall, there's like really nothing that intrigues me at all about this season. If I would have to say my favorite episodes, though, then it would probably be, I would say episode maybe 14, episode 18, and episode 15, I guess. And I feel like Multi might say episode 17 is one of his, but that just missed the cut for me.
That's very interesting. So, I will say something about that season. I think that season was very consistent. Like, no episode stood out, and no episode was like really well. Actually, no episodes stood out, but a lot of episodes were really shit. And this is funny because you liked episode 14, and when I see my tier list, I actually remember everything, and I really didn't like that episode. Is it the worst? No, it's not the worst, but yeah, I think that season was really rough. I won't go into...
You know why I like that episode, though? Because it was a change of pace, at least away from the Flash. After all the other episodes before it was a little different. So I was like, okay, this is a bit refreshing at least.
Yeah, that was clearly better than 13. That was a huge step up from 13. But I can see the appeal there. That was a kind of time loop situation there. My biggest issue is I remember this episode and I'm like, I'm just not really interested to ever rewatch it. I think I've seen it twice, but I've seen the entire season maybe 4 times or 5 times. Even if I didn't really like it, I did a lot of videos about the Arrowverse and stuff, so I did rewatch the season a lot. But if I wasn't making content, I think I would skip that season when I was rewatching the show. And now, when I will rewatch the show, the future, if it's for a video, I will rewatch that season. But if not, if it's just for fun, I skipped that season. I won't go too deep into it because I think we can have a deeper discussion about it, especially with DC, because I know DC have different feeling about it. So what about you, DC? What did you thought of that season overall?
I think it's the most underrated season. I think the hate it gets are it's just not this. It doesn't deserve it. I think it's one of the best seasons in my opinion.
Okay, so uh, we can start off the deeper discussion by asking you. You already said you liked episode 14, Cole, but what would be your top three? A clear top three for season 5 for you.
Uh, Pretty sure I said it. It was like episode. It was that episode. It was like the one episode with like the King Shark battle, and then I believe it was
15.
it was the yeah, no, it was like the what was the fucking name of it again? It was like the one where they fight that one villain, uh, like Godspeed or something. Yeah, I think that was the
Godspeed.
name of the
Oh,
episode.
Godspeed is later that season, I think.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually, I think it's like 17 or I can't exactly remember. I'm
18.
looking 18. Yeah, yeah, 18. Okay, 18. And the third one would be the time loop, right?
Uh, yeah, it was yeah, it was like it was
14.
14, 18,
Yeah.
and then yeah, 14, 18, and then the King Shark one, I believe, and I mean, unless I'm getting 14 and 15 mixed up with each other,
Yeah, I
but
see it. Okay,
we
Godspeed is 18. The time loop is 14, and 15 is the King Shark one.
mhm. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, DC? What would be your top three episode of season 5?
Hmm. I have a lot or many. There's episode 3, the Death of Vibe. There's Golden Face. I
Oh,
kind of
really?
forgot the
Interesting. Why?
yeah.
I
That
need explanation on that one.
oh I personally the banter Barry and Ralph have with a Goldface is entertaining, and I enjoyed how their mission was an undercover mission to trick Goldface, and I know a lot, and I know this is a hot take, but I actually think that the Iris scene where she stabs Cicada, I don't think that's plot armor because, well, first off, Cicada has a weak spot. Um, and I know people are gonna say, "So what?" Well, if you ever been in a fight and you have a weak spot, more than likely someone's gonna target it, and you have the upper hand. So that's one thing I enjoyed. I think I enjoyed about that scene. So I do enjoy the episode as a whole. The story I think works really well. I enjoyed episode 8, the 100th episode. The King Shark Gorilla Garage episode I enjoyed. I also enjoyed the second episode where Team Flash basically fights Cicada.
Okay, very interesting. There's a lot of interesting pick. So as of me, my top three would be Legacy, which is episode 22. The biggest reason is I didn't add that many issues, and that was kind of shocking for me with season 5 because I really didn't like season 5. So this is clearly a highlight. Um, but among the top 10, even if I force myself to place each single season in that top 10, that one is one of the weakest. And if I wasn't forcing myself into placing episodes from each season in that top 10, it would never make it into it. But yeah, Legacy was enjoyable. I can't exactly remember. I think I gave it like a 9 or a 9.5, but I've seen the episode like back in December, so that's kind of far in my memory. But if it's this high, that means I didn't add that many issue. Um, Now next stop would be memorabilia. That's episode 12. The episode centered around why Denise became villain, why Denise became Shikada. I like that episode a lot, and it did resonate well with me because I'm like, okay, that makes sense why she is a villain, and why she has that hatred. It's because her uncle basically fostered that hatred, and she did witness that. She did um, grew up with that kind of hatred uh, because of her uncle, and it made sense. And my third favorite episode that season would be the King Shark versus Gorilla Grodd. But to give a good idea of how I feel about that season, I look at the entire tier list with all of the episode, and King Grodd is like B tier, so it's like in the middle of my list. And keep in mind, there's like 184 episodes, so when you're like in the middle like that, man, there's a lot of better episode out there. I still liked it. I think that's probably one of the few episodes I would rewatch if I get to rewatch the show just for fun. Um, yeah, I liked it a lot. Uh, Honorable mention to seeing Red and the Godspeed episode wasn't that bad. As I said earlier, I think that season was very consistent. At no point it was amazing for me, but at no point, well, actually there was a point where it was very low, but the low point of season 5 are actually higher than the low point of season 4, which is funny. Um, so yeah, what would be your top 3 worst episodes starting with DC?
Hmm. I think the only episode I'd say is bad is just the episode where XS gets mind controlled by that person named Spencer.
Was it
And
episode 2 or 3? That was early in the season.
I don't think it was either of them, because I know episode 2 is when they first fight Cicada and they get destroyed, and episode 3 was when they quote unquote kill Vibe. Episode 4, I think it was episode 4, but I know it had involved XS fighting the Flash at one point in a stadium,
Yeah, I
and she
remember
gets
that
like mind.
episode. I was sure that was 2,
Yeah,
but maybe you're right.
yeah, I know it can't be 2 because I've actually seen 2 before, and I know like recent, and I know for a fact both. It can't be 2 or 3 because those are the episodes where Team Flash basically goes to war with Cicada, and well, let's just say things don't go well for them. So yeah,
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm looking to it, and yeah, you're right. Um, so what would be the others?
I don't think I have any after the. I think it's just that one episode. Yeah, I enjoyed the season a lot.
I actually realized a flash of the lightning. Is it season 6 or 5?
Let me check. Next, Flash of Lightning. A Flash of Lightning. That's season 6, episode 2.
Oh,
So
okay,
yeah,
yeah.
season 6.
Okay, because my pictures I got are weird. Um, so yeah. Um, what did you like about Cicada? I know Cole is away for a few minutes. I still have a few questions to ask him. Uh, so what did you like with Cicada? Because I know he's one of your favorites, I think.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites. I think what I enjoyed most about his character was how he was sort of like Flash's equivalent of Prometheus, not in the sense that he broke barrier was 500 steps ahead, but the fact that they had very similar motivation, you could find it very relatable. Like I found, in fact, there were many times I felt like Cicada I was like, man, Takeda is such a great character. I don't care that he keeps running away because I don't think that's even important. It's like, man, Takeda is such a relatable character for me because of how I could see him being a good guy in the story, and he's technically the good guy, even if he does horrible things. But every hero has to eventually do some bad things just to save others, and that's something I enjoyed. I enjoyed how it's it's more of him, his story, and you relate to it. Because when I look at now villains like the Speed Force, Godspeed, Reverse Slash nowadays, they don't have a motivation that you can relate to. Like, let's just be honest now. Cicada was better because we can actually understand where he's coming from, and I don't even think his voice was that cringeworthy. I mean, I felt like whenever he like every meta will die. I was like, I feel his hatred. I feel like his rage and his hatred basically, and I think it works as well. Other things I enjoy how it generally feels literally impossible for Team Flash to take him down because when I first watched the season, I was stunned. And how would they take down Cicada? Because he can always take away their powers, though. Like, even with Savitar, I kind of knew they would have saved Iris, but with Cicada, I always had my brain thinking, man, are they actually ever gonna stop Cicada? Because he keeps taking away their powers, and I'm like, no, I don't think that they're gonna take down Cicada because he's taking away their powers like 24/7, and he's basically making them useless. So, yeah.
So, I will say this. I think Cicada idea was great, but it was poorly executed so many times. Freaking Cicada, he could have killed the entire Team Flash, but something happens and they get away alive, or something happens and he gets to leave. He is about to murder them, but then suddenly he wants to leave, so he just leaves. And other times they're like, oh, we got to. Like, the perfect example, I feel like episode 8 could have been much better if they actually stopped him at that point, because they had the upper end. They could have freaking stopped him, but he still got away for some reason. Um, but yeah, like, how many times he ran away, man? That bothered me so much. And it is, his voice is really cringe, but I can see what they were trying to do with it. Um, what did you think of Shikada?
I thought it was I like the character. I like his niece because I feel like she kind of I think because of how she plays the role of the she's the reason behind his motivations and how she later grows up to become a cicada in the future. I also enjoy that, and so I like cicada or cicada too.
It's hilarious because I feel like the actress that's been playing her has been typecast, because in almost everything she is in, she was a villain. She was in Smallville. She was Alicia in Smallville. I don't know if you have seen Smallville. Did you?
I have not.
So I just spoiled something for later season, but you will probably forget because we won't cover Smallville yet. We will at some point. I think this is a cult classic, and if you're into like superhero stuff, that's something we need to cover.
Yeah.
Smallville is okay. Some of the CG didn't age well, and the format didn't age well, but the overall show, I think, is very enjoyable. And there was 10 seasons of it. That was the longest running superhero slash comic book TV show ever made. It had like over 200 and like, I think 20-ish or 10-ish episode. Uh,
Yeah.
I thought Smallville got better as the years went on, because they had more liberty on what they could do. Like, the early season was very episodic, and the later season they kind of focus on long form story, a bit like of the Arrowverse, like with the villain of the year, you know. And um, yeah, Smallville, huge classic. We will cover that eventually, and I really hope you will enjoy it as much as me. I know Cole has seen most of Smallville, but we will really get into it. It's basically Superman growing up, and around season 4 they start adding more Justice League characters like Bart, like Aquaman in season 5, and Green Arrow in season 6. Um, and I won't spoil anything from season 7, but I add someone else because that's actually a spoiler in season 7. And they use a lot of Superman villains, but the Superman villains are more there in later season.
My bad.
So you're back. Cole is back. So, we were going on a tangent all about Smallville. Um, so, yeah, I forgot why we went on that tangent. Oh, yeah, I remember. Shikada being typecast because she was also a weekly villain in 2 of the Smallville episodes. Actually, 3. That's funny. You know which episode I'm talking about, do you, Cole? The girl that played Cicada also played in Smallville. Uh,
Yeah.
so, I guess now we are in the worst episode this season. DC only had 1, I believe, or 2. He didn't add that many because he liked that season a lot. So, what about you, Cole? What would be your top 3 worst episode?
Oh boy, okay, let me pull up the thing here. This will be hard because there's a lot that are just like tied with each other for being terrible but not standing out for like the worst. It's gonna be close, so I'm gonna have to like look at this and remind myself. And I can't believe I've watched there's like 200 episodes almost of this show's history. And, oh my god. Okay. Top 3 worst. Let's see, so... Again, just like my favorite, it's not in any particular order, and just like stuff like the 14th episode, there's some that might be tied with it, kind of like the 22nd and such, but I'm just going for the 17th, but I'm just going with whatever off the top of my head if I can remember, but... So yeah, but with the worst from what I can remember, let's see, probably, episode 11 was close, but there were actually things that I kind of liked about it that salvaged it from being one of the worst. Yeah, so some of the worst would probably be episode 10 as one of them. Also, the fact that they called it The Flash and the Furious is fucking, I want to die.
Oh, that's the car
CW's
episode. That's the car
Yeah,
episode.
can see. It was worse than a Fast and Furious movie, and that's sad because Fast and Furious sucks. Jesus
No, you
Christ!
just gave me bad memories. I remember episode 10. Now.
Can CW stop naming their episodes off of movies? Like, it's getting really annoying. Like the recent Superman and Lois episode was. They didn't even try to make like a pun out of it. Like the girl with the red lightning, like that was a pun off of the girl with the dragon tattoo, obviously, that we just watched on the Superman and Lois one this week. They didn't even try. They just named it Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. They just named it the actual title of the film. It's like, okay. Wow. Anyway, fucking hell. Anyway, so another worst would probably be 20 Gone Rogue.
Oh!
And I think that's considered, I think, in the community, like, unanimously, probably the worst episode from what I've seen.
Yeah.
And then let's see what else. I don't know. The next one, episode 4 was just a giant waste of time. Was it the worst, like, made episode? I don't know. Like, again, for the third one, I'm just gonna say a couple that are kind of tied. That would be, like, one of them that's kind of tied. Again, it was just a giant, boring waste of time to me, episode 4, but I wouldn't say it's, like, the worst made, though. But then there's also episode 13, which I don't understand why that isn't considered more the worst over others. Like, I would definitely consider episode 13 worse than episode, like, 11, episode 7, episode 5, even though there's some horrendous parts in episode 5 where it was like watching a fucking, it is like a parody of something. It was still, had some better moments, I thought. Like, I don't know why it's considered not worse than that, but yeah. So anyway, there are my 3 to 4. Oh, and episode 19 also had some really cheesy bad moments, but and honestly, that would definitely be close, because definitely when it comes to the villain in that was horrendous, but still misses the cut for me though, compared to the other 3 to 4.
You know what? Usually I say worst top 3, but this time around I will share more than my worst top 3, because I just realized season 5 is 1/3 of my failure tier, which is like what I consider all the worst episode of the entire show, and this is hilarious. Actually, I have 15 episodes in that tier, and
Jesus Christ.
among these 15, 5 are from season 5. So I need to mention all of them.
Go ahead. I named like fucking 5 or 6 of them, so go ahead. It's tough because a lot of them are sort of just like tied with each other. Besides maybe like episode, like I would say episode 20 and the car one are probably like unanimously in the bottom 2. But after that, it's kind of a competition for the 3rd spot.
Wait, I will surprise you. So that's one of the top ones. It's borderline E tier. It's like place 14 in my 15. No, actually, it's place number 2 in my 15 or whatever. Like it's borderline E tier, so it's almost E tier. So it's cause in excess. What bothers me is, at some point they could have freaking stopped freaking Cicada, but that's just episode 14, so there's no way they will stop him. That episode feels like a waste of time for me. It's filler from filler.
Yeah. But to be fair, the entire season kind of felt like that. So to me,
I didn't really feel a difference in it, and I thought, at least it was a better made episode in many areas. So I'll list that as my top 3 this season. That was my mindset.
So next up, all doled up, episode 5, the contortionist, the guy that can like split and cube and stuff. I like the idea, but Iris jumping from a building to save Barry is kinda PTSD like. I don't want to ever see that again. It doesn't make sense. And the villain itself is not that amazing. Like, I respect the actor because he's putting out some crazy stunt work. It's kind of crazy, but that's the only thing good about that episode.
I just remember that, and I actually kind of like the Irish jump.
Bro, why? I don't get you.
Oh my god! I just remember it. I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot."
It was pretty funny.
Oh. But yeah, I did enjoy it. Oh god.
I ate the guts out of that episode. There's no way I'm ever rewatching it. And yeah, next up, Snowpack. You're damn right. There was too much freaking cheese, terrible dialogue. Caitlin's father turned into a joke. At first, he's somewhat interesting, but the more episode we got and the more scene he got, like the worse character became. I was like, bruh, why? So painful. Fun fact, this one is right underneath Duet. Remember the musical in season 3? So yeah, Snowpack is right underneath it. So I'd rather watch fucking Duet than this shit. Next up is Gold Faced, bruh. that Flashless episode, man, it got on my nerve. Goldface is one of the worst shit ever made. I don't know what they were thinking when they made that character. He is such a terrible character, and he's the focus. The idea of a mission to investigate that's kind of good, but it's poorly executed in the filler empty episode. That that was shit. I don't want to ever see it again. And I will let you guess what's the worst for me, Cole. Now we are in the fifth one and last one, the worst episode of season 5, and it's right above Girls' Nights Out, but not by that much. I will let you guess it, Cole, or DC.
Oh, well, hold on. Is Girls' Nights Out your worst of all time?
No, it's actually episode 8. Remember the season 9, episode 8?
Season 9, episode 8 is your worst all time.
Yeah. It cannot go any lower.
Oh yeah, Partners in Time. Okay, yeah, that was definitely. Yeah, that was. Let's just.
Ignore that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so it was the second or something. Okay. Anyway, okay, I'll guess. Did you already say episode? What was it again? Episode 20 as one of yours.
I didn't mention 20 yet.
Okay, well, I mean, I would be surprised if that wasn't. Like, I don't know. Like, I figured the ones that you mentioned, I kind of figured would get a shout out, and that's why I also kind of brought them up. Like, yeah, I'm sure Multi-Topic hated these, but I didn't hate them as much, I guess. But any others, I mean, I guess you already mentioned the drive-in episode, probably. If not, then I don't know. Newsflash.
I don't know. I think it has to be episode 20. Like, I think. I don't know, because I always try to, like, guess these off of, like, what I thought were horrendous and also what the community thinks is horrendous, but then you end up surprising me. Like, it ends up being something such as, like, episode 2 Blocked or something like that. That's more of, like, a mixed episode for a lot of people that you just hated, or something like Newsflash. So I don't know, but I'm gonna guess. I'm just gonna guess episode 20, and if it's not, then I mean it would probably be something like maybe like I mean I think you already said Goldface. So yeah, I mean I'll just guess episode 20.
What about you, DC? What's your guess on my least favorite episode in this season?
I'm thinking it's either episode 16, the episode where Orlando Wires agrees to take the cure, or an episode with Eobard Dawn, one of those two.
Oh, that's very interesting. I like your thought process, but Cole is right. Episode 20 is horrendous. It's one of the worst of the worst.
Yeah, and listen, when I saw that episode though, and I saw that it only had a 7.0 on IMDb, I realized that's because 100% the people probably stopped watching the show at this point to even rate it lowly.
So to give you an idea, it's right above Girls' Nights Out, but Girls' Nights Out is kind of low. So the worst episode of The Flash is season 9, episode 8. Followed by season 8 episode 17, followed by season 7 episode 14, followed by season 7 episode 13, followed by season 6 episode 11, which is the episode you really like a lot, DC, followed by Run Iris Run, followed by Girls' Nights Out, and Gone Rogue. So Gone Rogue is like in the middle of the worst of the worst. It's a failure. I don't want to ever see that shit again. So yeah. So I asked DC already what did he thought of Cicada. What about you, Cole? What did you thought of Cicada as a villain?
I hated every minute.
Did you liked it every time he could have killed everyone in Team Flash, but instead he decided to run away or fly
Yeah, well,
away?
I mean, to be fair, that's a lot of villains in the Flash. I mean, they just are they stand in there saying stolen movie quotes for the whole runtime, and then they just get they let them buy time to finally find a way to beat them, and then they're like, oh shit, and then they fight, and then they lose. Isn't that like every Flash villain almost, besides the odd ones that are really good?
Zoom, he didn't really had reasons to kill Team Flash. He really wanted to be the fastest one, and he killed whoever he wanted to kill, but he had no desire to kill everyone. That's the thing. Like, Sigena had clearly hatred for Meta-Human, and he could have freaking murdered Cisco on the spot. He could have murdered, like, Caitlyn, I don't know how many times, but plot armor happens, and he just runs away instead. And then Shikara comes in. Even if I like the motive and why she is a villain, because she's just following the uncle footstep, I still think she is kind of shit because she's even more overpowered than her father. She even has even more hatred for Metahuman, and she just doesn't kill anybody in Team Flash, which is shocking. Um, Savitar, it's the same thing in season 3. Savitar only wanted to hurt Barry. He didn't really care about the others. Um, Reverse Flash, same thing. Like most villains, their hatred is aimed at Barry. And the tank here wasn't really a killer. Well, he was a killer, but he wasn't the same kind of killer as the others. Like, if his plan is to kill you, he will kill you. But if he doesn't need to kill you, he will not kill you because he is just not like Sekera, you know? Like, I feel like most of the villain in the Flash, they're aimed at Barry, except for the Tinker. The Tinker is more like, I want to brainwash people, which is wrong, but he doesn't go out of his way to kill everyone he can kill. That's what I mean, but Segura is clearly shown as a killer that kills Meta-Human. So it doesn't add up for me, like, all these times he just runs away when he could. Or each time, like, they could have ended Segura, but no, Segura fly away, or Segura run away, whatever. This gave me cancer, man. All I remember is Segura flying away. That's like the thing I remember the most. And the pacing of that season is bad. It's filled with filler. Um, some of the jokes are not really funny anymore. The sole fact that Barry let Nora do her own flashpoint and erase herself in the end is ridiculous. All these time, Iris is just mad at Barry. Iris doesn't have any storyline that season. Iris is she's just someone to argue with Barry. That's what she is in season 5. Or someone to argue with Nora. That's all she is. Where's the reporter work? Tell me. I really don't like that. That season is the worst season of the show, and it's among the worst season in the entire Arrowverse. It's clearly a low point. Um, so, is there anything else you'd like to share, DC?
Not for me.
What about you, Cole? Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Not for me. Let's just get this over with. Let's get this entire show. I cannot wait to stop watching The Flash. I cannot wait.
Well,
Because
be ready for season 7. Season 7 is for me the second worst, but it's clearly much better than 5. So you have seen the worst season in my books.
for me, season 8 is also in the running there.
Yeah, season 8. It's not that amazing, but it's not as low. So We are in season 9 right now.
There's many in the running for me, so I don't know. I mean,
So,
I heard that season 6 isn't too bad though.
um, I liked a lot the first half. Before Crisis, that was amazing. After Crisis, we have a few decent episodes I enjoyed, but the quality dipped a lot. The first half is very enjoyable, but the other issue to consider with season 6 is COVID because they got cut short. They basically lost 4 episodes because of COVID, and these 4 episodes are basically the start of season 7, which is one of the few reasons why season 7 is so bad. But there are more to it, but season 6, as I said, start off amazing, falls off in the back half. Um, and I think DC will say otherwise because that's his favorite season. So it depends where you stand for, uh, where you stand at. So
I see.
I would give a 4.5 out of 10 for season 5 of The Flash. What about you, Cole?
Uh, 3.
3? Okay. Okay, what about you, DC?
An 8.
Okay. So you quite enjoyed it much more than us. So I will mark down at that time stamp 1100 The Flash season 5. There we go. I will take a picture of it. And we will move on to everyone's favorite show, Gotham Knights.
Oh yes,
The
yes. This episode
masterpiece. The one and
this episode was
only.
a masterpiece. Yes.
Okay.
So I will let both of you start. I will go at the bathroom. Um, so I will be right back.
Okay.
So both of you can start that topic,
You,
and
you,
that won't take too long.
you can go ahead, DC. I guess you
All right.
can go right.
All right. I thought this episode was really really good. Um. Well.
Yeah. Continue.
All right. So I thought this episode was good. I enjoyed, the whole court storyline. I enjoyed the Debbie Brown and her mom's front room storyline, which I thought was very good and very relatable. I also enjoyed the party sequence in the court storyline where you have Turner and Dwella just got themselves into the party. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Right.
I mean, what was your favorite? Okay, yeah. Anyway, there's like a weird noise on your side.
Yeah. Weird.
A buzzing.
Is
Like
it
a
on my
static.
side?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was coming from.
it's fixed. It was fixed now. I don't know what happened. I think you like set your headset somewhere where like beside an air conditioner or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
beside my
Like it
fan,
made some sort of
probably.
static noise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And see if there's any noise like that on my end. Let me know. It would be because of my fan. But yeah. Basically. Yeah. Oh yeah. I was just gonna ask. What was your favorite part of it? DC.
All right. So my favorite part was probably when the party sequence because it was kind of a mixture of a few things, a mixture of terrifying, suspense, um, what else? Sadness and beautiful, basically. I thought that the party, it looked really nice when you realize that this is a supervillain. area, and then you see a little girl, and that adds a bit of sadness to it. It's like sport can even manipulate a child into becoming a member of the court, and then later on, when you have the Cressida court technically, and she says we kill, you just see how much the court is there. And I also enjoyed the Stephanie Brown with her mom's addiction. I think it's a very relatable storyline. And you just see Arthur Brown, the Clue Master, just being a really shitty father, which I really enjoyed. I just enjoy the storyline as a whole.
Okay. What about you, Cole?
Yeah. I mean, I have quite a lot to say, and I'll just say it all right now. But yeah, okay. First thing I'll say about this is that, like after watching all of sort of David Fincher's films and how he does mystery elements perfectly and lets the audience try to figure it out instead of just vomiting everything to them without the chance and the most basic, without even the chance to let like the audience figure out for themselves or like do anything creative if any mystery aspects. It just vomiting it all out in like the most basic exposition way. Now comparing it to what Gotham Knights does, which is basically that, the opposite. It makes it so painful to sit through. It's like there's only one moment where that didn't happen really, where they actually did kind of a good job with it, and that was when it was either the second or third episode where the knife falls on the ground and then he figures it out from that. I wish there were more scenes like that when they're solving like mysteries and puzzles, but there isn't. You just sit around a table and go, blah blah blah. This is blah 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 and blah blah. It's like there's no mystery like to it. Like it's just stupid, and there's nothing different that any of these characters bring, in my opinion. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but this really showed in this episode 100%. At least in the other episodes, they had moments like they had their, catchphrases and, attitude. In this episode, this really showed. There's no different from the character, like, that tells the characters apart, in my opinion. Like, visually, with how they dress and sound, maybe, with their accents, like, one being, like, maybe being more chaotic with how they talk, sure. But outside of that, no. Like, after the intros where they throw the cringe, cheesy catchphrases with their different attitudes at the very start of each episode, once they start actually doing stuff or discussing planning clues throughout each episode, and especially this one, they all act the exact same, and they bring nothing original to the table. They are just written like clones of each other instead of doing something interesting with each of them. What is even the point of having characters such as the daughter of Joker if they're just gonna act almost identical to everyone else in the same room, right? Remove the fucking eyeliner and she would look the exact same as the other female characters in this show and act the same. It's like fucking 12 Angry Men if it was written by idiots. And alright, this is yeah.
I like that reference.
Yeah, also, this is another thing. A message I have just for Gotham Knights. Not just for Gotham Knights, but all CW shows in general for the most part. Just because you're filming scenes where characters are discussing something or trying to come up with something in a room does not mean you have to make it fucking boring with nothing happening. You do realize it's a visual medium, not a fucking audiobook. You do realize you could have like them doing things that also fit their characters while discussing them, to make like the scenes interesting and to add character to them instead of just them all standing in a fucking circle every episode discussing shit, right? Like maybe with that like lead into them figuring something out, like they with the knife stuff. Like why not have the characters like doing certain things in the background? They did that for like one episode and then nothing else. They're just standing there in the circle, fucking in the fucking attic or whatever, every fucking episode doing nothing. It's like it's boring and it's shitty. It's stupid. And with the action scenes, holy fuck! Again, they're done horribly. The number of quick cuts and shaky cams in that action scene Once they got to the party and down there with the candles and shit. God, that was one of the worst action scenes I've seen in my life. There were like 50 jump cuts and shaky cam moments because they had to hide how bad the actors were at acting because they're not fucking action stars. And then, oh my god, the lighting was incredibly special in a bad way. Now I like how it's natural lighting it is an artificial lighting at first with the candles and stuff. That's how you do it properly. But they didn't. What they then did though, and I watched behind the scenes videos, they then added artificial darkness to it for some reason instead of just keeping the natural lighting. And then they added artificial lighting on top of that. So like, what the fuck are you even doing? So you have natural lighting with all the candles and everything perfect. It makes the scene look good. It's lighted properly but not overexposed. But then you add artificial darkness to make it so you barely see anything, and then artificial lightning on top of it so you could actually see it somewhat. What are you doing? Suck again. Everything fucking sucks. Cinematography blurry as shit. Right, and nothing in this episode, in my opinion, made too much sense of how they go about things. All right, and like I get why they would want to save her since she could, help them, and she might not have been a part of her father's death, like as much as they think after this. However, no one in their right minds would attempt to do so with how many of them are around her. It is literally a death wish, and it makes no sense for him not to just like die immediately after fucking chopping that guy's head off. Which, by the way, the beheading scene was horribly done, especially that slow motion during it. Stupid character decisions to the Maxis was just all fucking shitty. I hated this episode. Fuck it. There's my review.
Bruh. Okay, we dive deep into it because you already reviewed most of it, bro.
Yeah, because I have to do something again for like
line.
I have to do something again for like 6 or 7 minutes. So I just wanted to get everything out there. Now you can go.
The roasting session is real, so yeah. Let us know when you're back, bruh. This.
Oh, don't worry. I'll be listening to you the whole time on my headset. I just won't be talking for a little bit.
Okay, perfect. So
All right.
I will go all in after I let DC speak a little bit. Did you have any issues with this episode, DC?
No, I don't have any issues.
Okay, okay. So it's time to bash the shit out of it because I got so many issues. Man, roasting this show is the fun part of it. It's not watching it. It's roasting it after. So, not funny despite trying hard, and this is quite early in the episode. I will repeat myself. All full dialogue. It's so disgusting what they write in the dialogue. More hate toward the rich. And I will repeat what I already said in the past. I'm not the biggest defender of rich people. My previous job, I got fired because rich people are assholes sometimes. I dropped the AO bomb anyway. I won't defend them. But if my goal is to entertain people through a show, through music, or whatever, I will not rant about the rich people privilege. There's better and more constructive things to do than crying and showing how jealous you are because you clearly don't have the money of these rich people. That's why you envy and despise them. With that out of the way, please, Gotham Knight Writer, if you ever get to see this show, what's your goal in this? Crying and hoping to make people like you crying? It's terrible. It doesn't feel natural when it comes up in dialogues like that. Only Hollywood people would think this way and speak this way. And even there, I feel like that's a caricature. It's just not what normal people would say. If you're in a circle where you speak like your characters, you need to go consult like psychologist or something. You need therapy. I'm telling you, you need therapy. If you think and speak like your characters, you need therapy. That's all I will say. Um, Now, it's something else, and I think I will need also Cole take on it because it's different on a lot of things.
Yeah, I was able to get back sooner than expected, so
Okay.
go ahead. But also, I agreed with everything you say. And another thing, before you ask me, one other thing I'll add on to this I forgot to mention. With the entire season in general, bro, there has been like no struggles or conflict or interesting things they've done at all with the character dynamics. From like, this is like heroes, trying to like work together with like criminals, and since day one, they've done nothing with that. At most, there's just been friendly banter in the dialogue. That's it. They've been like best buddies since day one. They've done nothing with any of this shit. It's so stupid. Like, are they actually criminals? It doesn't feel like it. They just feel like edgy teenagers. That's all. They don't feel like criminals or villains.
Okay, so here's my question to the both of you, and this will directly impact my final score of this episode because this is an issue I got, but maybe it's an issue guys can actually defend, and this is why I throw it out there. So here's my issue: using someone else's name for a prescription. Now I will explain how it goes here. I know we cannot do that in Quebec. I don't know about other places like USA and stuff. Here, how it works in Quebec, you need to see a doctor. Doctor signs a paper under name if you need the medication. Nobody else can pick up the medication. Only a person with a valid signed paper from the doctor can get the medication at the pharmacy or drugstore or whatever.
I think somebody else can pick it up for them. But yeah, they need like a
Yeah,
sheet of paper with like a signature of their
yeah,
name and stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's an issue for me because there's one of the plots, one of the subplot I didn't care at all about was Blondie subplot. I can't remember their name because they're so forgettable. But
They're
Blondie,
all the same. Who cares?
yeah, Blondie basically, um, her mother took medication under Blondie name. It doesn't add up. She cannot do that. Uh, am I right to take that? Am I right to say that?
Well.
That's
It
under
depends.
Blondie name. That's not under the mother name.
Yeah, well,
Well,
this is what I think. I think whoever has the right to that medication, I guess Blondie. I mean, we'll call her, but I mean, I think the pharmacists and such, again, know they're related, and have seen them like enough times, and like getting medication either for herself or the mother maybe picking it up for her, or whatever. Where yeah, they'll just give it, hand it out. It won't even like there are pharmacies that do that. It's like become like aware at a certain point with like certain customers, and know, so that's like they won't even like need a signature or anything, or or need them to come. They'll just like give it to them, and then and taking the medication. I mean, she could just like steal some of hers, after she gets it.
But what if
yeah.
Blondie doesn't need that? Like, why doctor would prescribe her something she doesn't need?
Um, well, with that again, now here's the thing. They could have done some interesting stuff like that, where yeah, she doesn't need it, but she got it for like a certain reason, like again, those maybe touch on like the opioid epidemic. People taking it not because they need, because they need to, just because they want to and stuff. But again, listen, this show isn't smart with how they do things, or knowing how the law works. So of course they didn't explain that or touch on it. That was probably their intention, was probably to do some sort of thing like that. where it doesn't need the medication, but is getting it for some reasons like that, and then her mother gets or whatnot. But again, they don't explain anything in this, and they're not smart enough to or know anything. So yeah, don't expect them to.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's a point taken off. Guys could not really defend good enough that issue I got. Maybe I
Oh,
will
I
I
let
wasn't
you.
defending it. I
I
was just saying how it is.
I,
I
I,
They're
was
too dumb.
I was
I will
actually
let you have a shot at it, DC, because Cole explained a lot. But do you have a shot at it? Do you try to debunk what I just
yeah.
said?
So I think here's the thing. I feel like the doctors they because Blondie's mom lied because here's the thing she didn't use it for any reason why. Now the reason why I think Stephanie could use some of those pills is because either she gets sick or for other reasons, but because I mean that does happen. More people can get sick than they realize, so I feel like there is a reason why. But I think as the reason as to how she was able to take it was she lied. Simple as that, and she was able to trick the doctors and the prescriptions, and was able to use it for her own personal gains. That's just my take.
Um, I can see what you mean. It still doesn't patch up my issue in the plot hole I see. Because for Blondie to get that prescription, she's the one that needs to be at the doctor. Like someone like the mother, for example,
Oh, that
she cannot
also
go, she cannot go
I
at the doctor and say, "Yeah, my daughter has that issue. Prescribes her that these pills." She cannot really do that.
yeah, and also in my defense of her that the mother could have just said, "Oh, I'm getting this for my daughter just to pick it up," as like a way to also form of lying as well.
But
So she could, yeah,
do,
yeah,
do
that's
you see what I mean? Is the doctor would
yeah,
not sign these pills for the daughter if the daughter doesn't have that issue, because he needs to see the daughter for himself. The
yeah,
doctor, the doctor need to meet Blondie. The doctor need to see, okay, uh, she needs these pills, so this bottle will have her name on
mm,
it. But they
mm,
didn't clearly explain why Blondie would need these pills, and her mother just happened to get pills under her daughter name, while she didn't really get that prescription from the doctor because she didn't need it, or if she did, they didn't explain to us. So yeah, that's a point taken off for me. Even if guys try your best to defend it, I just don't think it makes any sense. Um, yeah, so I guess I can move on with my next issue. Um, Nobody else. Oh, I already said that. I don't care about Blondie life. This is a side issue because I felt like that subplot with her bad mother and her bad father is not really good. I didn't care. Um, I felt like it was filler because it didn't add anything to the character. They
in my
wanted.
go
Uh,
on.
oh yeah, yeah. Go on, go on.
So in my defense, I think that they're setting this up for a future season where or a future time when they're gonna have the Clue Master as one of the either a side villain or a main villain. Hell, they might even have him play a big role in the court storyline as well. So I understand why you think it's Philip, but when I look at it from a perspective, I don't really consider 100% Philip. But I get where you're coming from.
Okay. So next up, they wanted you to feel sorry for the traitor. I didn't. So I mean, despite the speech, at the very end, they were like, we gave you everything, and this is all you think us by betraying us. And in my mind, it's like, I don't care. She can freaking die. She betrayed pretty much every single fucking person she knew. She betrayed Bruce. She betrayed Turner. She fucking betrays the court. It's like, I don't care. Just kill her off, man. That's like one of the worst character in the show. Like, yeah, I'm glad I killed her off. Anyway, Turner wanting to save the traitor. Oh, I was rolling my eyes. I was like, sister, did you lost your brain somewhere? Why? 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 I was rolling my eyes. At that point, I was wishing that was the final episode and the freaking court would murder them. That was my wish. But I was like, we still have like 5 episodes to go, so there's no way they will kill them off. But I was rolling my eyes. Oh, Joker daughter is right. Freaking leave. You cannot save her. But of course, they really needed to make the Joker daughter flip someone twice her weight during the escape scene. You know how I feel when it's woman against men. It need to be well choreographed. It need to be well done for me to enjoy my time. This wasn't. This was shit. Uh, it's not believable that she can just flip people around. The Joker daughter, based on what they showed us and told us, is a normal woman. She doesn't have superpowers. And she's not even muscular. She's not in like UFC fighter, boxing, or whatever. She is a mannequin. I forgot. She's a model, you know? She's slim, she is fit. Okay. But she doesn't have the muscle to freaking flip people around. This insult the viewer for me. Um.
But
So
in defense of that, they could have also had the characters training like off screen, like you know how like an era where they had like those sequences where Oliver with the crew. I think that's what they're going with Gotham Knights. So even then, like I think that's what they're doing with Duella and the group as a whole. I think they're just having them train like that's not on screen.
look, Arrow outside of season 3 and 4 had amazing fight choreography, and most of the time there's no time where I really remember in the good episode. I mean, maybe in episode 3 and 4 that could have happened because I like to forget what happened in these 2 seasons, but um, most of the time the fight man on woman was believable in Arrow because they had good people making the fight choreography, and I don't recall in the good season Sarah flipping around people twice her size. In fact, the fight that stick the most in my mind, with Sarah involved in, was the fight between Oliver, Sarah, and the lead guy in season 2. This I remember well, and she wasn't really flipping the guy around. Uh, the League of Assassin guy basically beat down Sarah and Oliver in that episode. But yeah, like I remember in season 3 when it had weaker fight choreography and a weaker storyline for fact. I remember seeing Laurel flipping people around, but I was criticizing it as well. It's not because it was Arrow that I thought it was immune to it. No. Even when Arrow did that kind of stuff, um, I would call Arrow out. And I like, I will give another good example, Dinah in season 5 and upward. She was looking, right? But she's also tall. When you look into it, she's tall. She's not a 5'2" or a 5'1" girl. She's probably 5'8" or 9, which is maybe a bit higher than some people. And if I remember correctly, she wasn't like the biggest bodybuilder, but she had muscle. She was bigger than let's say Laurel, or even Sarah. I think um, Dinah was actually bigger than Sarah. So her fight choreography was still very good, and I don't remember Dinah really flipping people left and right that are twice her size, because they just didn't happen. She was a big girl, man. Dinah is big. I won't say she is 6 foot, but she's not that far from that 6 foot. And as I said, she had muscle. So yeah, Gotham Knight, we see these 5'2" girls with no muscle whatsoever, just flipping guys heavier than them. It doesn't make sense. And when we cover Arrow, because we will eventually cover Arrow, I will look again into it more deeper, the same way I do with Gotham Knight. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just praise a little bit too much Arrow, but I think I remember well most of the fights that involve girls. Emiko, I don't remember her flipping Oliver at any point, and they fought in season 7, but I don't remember Emiko flipping Oliver left and right. Uh, I remember Mia being flipped left and right. That's one thing, but yeah, I didn't like Mia character, or most of her fight scene were actually weak. But yeah, like maybe Mia, maybe you're right. Maybe like when Mia was involved, they were making her flipping people. Anyway, once we get back to Arrow eventually, I will look into it, man. The same way I do with Gotham Knight. And maybe Arrow will become worse because I criticize them. But
Yeah, I have to say though, did did they say they said Electra, right?
Yeah, they did.
they what?
Okay. Yeah, that I'm just saying that made me unless it's something completely different. I mean, if we're talking about the actual, comic book character Electra, and also one off of that shitty movie Uwe Boll made, fuck you. But anyway, if we're talking about that one, then I hate this episode even more because if they're gonna have Electra in this, then oh
No,
my god.
no, not that. They're doing something. It's called Electrum. I think that they're doing it something. It basically works like the Lazarus Pit, just in a different way.
Okay,
Yeah,
because
so it has
I
nothing.
thought I heard Electra, so I thought, are they bringing that character into the shitty show?
No,
So it's something different.
that
Because I figured it was something different and I just misheard it.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, basically.
Okay.
It's
Because I
not
was gonna
even
say if it was, I would have
Electra.
lowered my
Electra
grade
is
to like a
DC.
-10.
Electra is Marvel. It's not even DC.
Yeah,
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 I didn't know the property. I just heard Electra when they
I
spoke
think
because
I
the
said
person couldn't speak
Mia
for
or
shit.
Dinah. Maybe that's what you were misheard, I should say. So yeah, I just don't find that believable. Fucking 5'2" woman flipping 6 foot guy with like 200 pounds of muscle. I just don't believe that. um, while they escaped, they took time to do some talking in the woods. Big brain, big brain. Take your time. They will catch up to you, but take your time. You really need to get that dialogue out right now at that scene before she get kills off. um, Here again, I don't care about Blondie's subplots. I repeat myself because I guess we got another scene of her. Um, the reveal of who's under the mask didn't surprise me since we could see his hair through the entire episode. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I don't care. Bruh.
in my defense, I thought, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but I always felt, that guy looks like Lincoln Marsh, and I was like, but I mean, it could be him. And then when it turns out it was him, I was like, wow, I'm actually a little shocked. Even if the hair, I was at least, uh,
It's the
uh
same haircut, bro.
I was
How did
just like,
you haven't seen it coming?
I don't really see a lot of like the things that are like right in front of me, and then later for foreshadows. I don't know. I don't know. It's probably because I have some of the worst eyesight in the whole world, but yeah, but it's probably because of that. Oh,
Bruh, like roasting this show is more fun than watching it. Uh, we did pretty much every single issue I had, but that's funny because this episode wasn't the worst. But all of my issue takes so much space that it's almost confusing. um, so yeah, let's go over the likes. I will start with the likes, and then we will move on to DC likes because I'm sure you got a lot to say there. So
yeah,
finally, the plot seemed to progress. At last, after like 8 episodes, I feel like we finally get something more to watch. Joker daughter is the voice of reason. You know, when she's saying freaking leave, well, she is actually smarter than freaking Turner or whatever. Um, Finally knowing why they burned the painting. So, I guess now we see. That's fine. I really tried my best to point out like strength there because I don't want to sound like a huge hater that ate watch. I don't hate watch. I watch for the podcast for sure, but I just give my honest opinion on everything. So I try my best to find likes. So the first fight choreography before the whole escape, I thought was fine. It wasn't the best, but it was decent. It was clearly better than when Duel basically flips people around. Um, but yeah, the first fight I thought was fine. Um, so that's it. I didn't like much. It's really rough for me, but I do like roasting it. So, you, DC, what about you? What are your likes?
um, I kind of said mine earlier in the stream, but it's fine. I'll give a bit of a recap. I enjoyed the court party scene where like I said before, it was kind of a mixture of, being beautiful, very terrifying, and very sad. I think it felt like it was a great mixture of all three. I enjoyed the Stephanie Brown. That's the blondie, as we call her.
Blondie.
Yeah, yeah. That I enjoy her side strong with her mom. What else? I enjoy how really this episode actually also progressed the plot a lot actually, and especially that ending twist where it makes you wonder: is Harvey Dent's split personality issue part of the court, and what will the court do to a Turner later on because he tried to save Cressida and he fails. Yeah, yeah.
So, I guess except if you have closing thoughts, we can move to the grade out of 10 now. I
I
guess you don't
yeah.
have closing
I mean,
thoughts,
I've
so
said everything.
No, I was gonna give my grade. Again, I don't really think that there's any issue for me. I'll just give it a 10.
a 10. Okay, a
Yeah.
10 for DC. What about you, Cole?
Let's see. There are. Do I want to give it like a 1.5 just because of certain? No, I'll
1.5?
give it a 1.
Okay.
No, I'll give it a 1.
So I give a 4 out of 10 to this
Ooh.
episode.
Nice, a 4 out of 10. We're improving.
Well, not exactly. That's average for me. Last week was a 4.5. Previous week was actually a 5. So episode 6 so far I think was the best one, but it doesn't fly high.
Ah, honestly, this show's giving me dementia, so I forgot.
Episode 4 was a all point low, and just by looking at the issues I had, yeah, I fully understand. I don't even read in depth, and I remember why that one was bad. um, the first episode was actually terrible as well. Yeah, it's not the worst, but it's still not good for me. Um, so I guess we can move to Superman and Lois, and I marked down the timestamp here. Gotham Knights. So Superman and Lois. I will let whoever wants to go first, because I need to find my notes and because I need to take a picture of the timestamp. Who wants to go first?
I guess. Oh.
Okay.
Um. Okay. So this is actually, for a shocking surprise, this is actually an episode I thought was actually enjoyable. It had its flaws, but it's definitely the one that's not like average. So yeah, it's a good episode. Finally.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you enjoyed that one. So at least it wasn't as painful as previous weeks. What about you, Cole?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode and the conflicts and the. I really liked how they filmed a lot of scenes. That was really well done. And I was scared that the performances would be not great in this episode, but it surprised me. I really enjoyed pretty much all the performances. So yeah, not really no complaints. Don't have too much else to say just because but we'll see. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Okay. So, uh, as a side note, this is more about the entire show so far, as someone that strongly believe it's one of the best comic book TV show out there, and it's my favorite live action Superman as well. I feel like every casting related with the actor in the series feels amazing. I think the actors are great. The direction is also great. It's just really good. And I don't always say that for every show. I feel like the weakest link is like Sarah's sister, but that's a child actor, so I won't be too harsh. But she's the only one that really feels a bit off, and I feel like that Lana is the embodiment of what Lana should be. And it's funny because Smallville had its own Lana for like freaking 7 season and a bit a few episodes in season 8 as well. But I feel like the Lana in Superman and Lois is a what if Lana was better than what it was in Smallville. It's just amazing. I think they really nailed every single casting with this show. What are your thoughts on the casting overall? Starting with DC.
It's definitely a good casting, a good cast for a show. Um, yeah, I enjoy the cast. I think the actors and the actresses that watch that perform the show, I think they all do a good job. I don't think that there's one episode where that is bad acting. I feel like they all do their best. For me, I think for most of my issues, it's really just the writing. Like
Yeah.
whenever I have a problem with either Clark or Lois's character, it's not the actors; it's always the writers, and the actors always try to do a good job. But yeah, yeah, I feel like Lana is like one of the few characters where, I enjoy the actress who plays her, um, and the Brian for her is actually really really good. But yeah,
and
yeah,
and it's also crazy because this also um it's also applied to Jonathan, which is the powerless brother, and it's surprising because I think he is amazing in the role. And we had another actor playing the previous Jonathan in season 1 and 2, and I feel like the actor is pulling his weight. Even if so far he only had 7 episodes against like 30 for the other one, he is pulling his weight. I'd say he's on par or maybe slightly better than the previous one actually. And it's crazy to say because sometimes when you recast some characters, sometimes it feels off. You're like, that's not really the same character. It feels different, but the recast here is just amazing. I feel like it's the same character I've been following for 3 seasons, and the new actor brings something new, and it doesn't feel off. Um, what about you, Cole? What do you think of the actors overall?
Sorry, what?
What?
Sorry, the actors you said.
Yeah, the acting, the actors. Do you feel like they are well casted in the Superman and Lois
Yes,
TV show?
very well casted, and there are some supporting. Again, there are some supporting actors here and there that which I mentioned before in other episodes that I really wasn't a big fan of. I don't think they did a great job. I do think it was more of the script and the character, design part instead of like the actors. But yeah, I wasn't a biggest fan of all of them. But all the main characters though, that we see like in each episode, they're all great, and every character in this episode was excellent. No issues with any of them in this episode. And
Okay.
also with younger actors, they really struggle sometimes with actually getting proper and realistic like emotions, and something that Hollywood does a poor job at. Child actor castings, in this show though, and especially in this episode though, it's the exact opposite. So yeah, it's good.
Wow, that's good to hear. So, I guess now we can dive a bit deeper into it. I only had one issue with this episode, and that was the plot convenience. Sam bumping into Lana at the restaurant after the failed date. When I see plot convenience, I mention them because I feel like it shows a weaker script and a weaker story there. So that's how I feel. That's my issue. That plot convenience. It's a plot convenience because what if Sam had that date? We wouldn't have that great Lana and Sam scene. Or what if Lana wasn't there and Sam just ends up being alone here? We would never have gotten that insight into Sam's character, and maybe Sam wouldn't have realized he need to change to find someone and to make it work. Um, that's my issue, but that's really a nitpick. That's a small issue. I enjoyed a lot of that episode, just like most of the episode this season so far, and I think maybe that season is, in terms of storytelling, is slightly weaker than season one, but the idea of Bruno Mannheim as a villain for this season makes this season maybe slightly better. The storytelling in season one may be like almost flawless, but I feel like the villain this season is the flawless thing. Um, so yeah, I enjoyed the show a lot. So what about you, DC? What would be your issues with this week if you had any?
Yeah, I had a few. I always, I always feel like Jonathan and Jordan's storylines are always poorly executed. I get that they're teenagers, but I always feel like every week, their storylines are always poorly executed half the time. Maybe it's just me. I get that they're teenagers, but it always feels like their storylines are always um cut ass and are always poorly executed for me.
To
Another
to the defense, because we are right with the brothers. Um, it's about the brothers. Like when brothers are teenagers, they go into stupid fights sometime in real life,
yeah,
and I know that because I've seen that happening a lot. I don't have brother or sister my age; they are much younger than me, but I have a lot of family. My extended family has a lot of kids the same age, and as teenagers, there's that kind of rivalry. They like they they envy each other because they always see the other as being better than them, and they don't like that. uh, and sometimes when there's clearly one that has some strength the other doesn't, he will use that as a power play to tell the other, look, I'm the strongest, you know. And I think this is what happened with Jonathan and Jordan this week. But I can
Yeah.
fully see where you are coming from, and it may be maybe a weakest link in the storyline. So, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Anything else? I don't remember this episode good. Hmm.
Maybe another issue? You said you had a lot of issues. Maybe work
Not
on
a lot.
them.
No, not a lot of issues. That would be like past episodes. But I did say I had a few.
Yeah.
I know Jonathan Jordan one was just one I just mentioned, but I'm trying to remember if I had anything else I did not like with this episode. Hmm. I can't think of the at the moment, but I'll let you know if something pops up that I just remembered.
Okay. What about you, Cole? Do you have other issues about this episode?
Uh, no, not really. Again, Superman and Lois. One of those shows where I mean, I've had issues before, but for the most part, usually not a show that has quote unquote issues or flaws for me. Just or so some things that do stuff just average instead of good at worst, and yeah, and pretty consistent quality overall. So yeah, don't really have anything to say.
Okay, so next up is likes. I got a lot of likes. I will let the both of you start on that. Is there any likes you didn't mention, Cole?
Uh, Pretty sure I mentioned also again just the way for the last few episodes I was a little disappointed with how like the camera work was maybe in comparison to like other episodes earlier on, especially episode one. I thought that was a top tier camera work in that episode, but in this one I thought this was also now top tier. The editing I really loved. Animal performances, no issues with any of them, all excellent. The script really like, besides maybe that plot convenience you said, but for the most part, I really like that. Music really good, cinematography really good. Like yeah, just pretty much everything. As for like certain scenes and like particular scenes in detail, were there any that like stood out for me like above any others? Honestly, no. This entire episode, I just pretty much stood out for me, in my opinion. Every scene wasn't really a weak scene for me in this episode.
Okay, DC, what would be the things you liked?
I enjoyed how this episode progressed the storyline with Bruno Mannheim. Again, I think Bruno Mannheim is the saving grace of season three. I like the storyline with him and Pia and Superman, and yeah, I enjoyed that sequence where Pia is using her cry and it's damaging Superman and Steel. Um, I also enjoyed that how it quickly turned from a nice dinner scene to straight up anarchy and chaos. That was at least a positive I liked. Let's see. I enjoyed Sam Lame and Sarah's storyline. Even if that one might be more filler, I still enjoyed it. Um, yeah,
Okay. Anything else you'd
yeah.
like to share before I take the floor?
Not for me.
Okay. The opening sequence where we get to see the family doing their best to take care of Lois was endearing. I liked it a lot. Jonathan being part of the kids program of firefighters I like it. That gives us some Cal and Jonathan storyline. Lois not being comfortable being part of the story about Bruno Mannheim. It's a great follow up about last week when her friendship kind of collapsed because of that. Clark explaining how dangerous Bruno Mannheim is. Lois giving up on the Mannheim case felt like some kind of growth in a process and a storyline. It felt like another stepping stone of a hero journey, even if Lois is not as heroic as Superman. She is like a hero of her own, you know. That's how I felt. And it's something missing from other shows like The Flash. You don't have that well written storylines for characters. You don't have them like going through processing new things in their lives. Like sometimes the Flash deals with something in one episode, and the next episode they kind of forgot what they dealt with the previous episode, so the follow up is not always there. But Superman and Lois always feels very cohesive. It's always like you're following the same adventure. It's not like another filler that stacks up to the list of filler. Oh, now it's a very important episode, so parts of it will matter later on, but that's only parts of it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. That's one thing about Sir and Lois I have noticed is how every episode is technically connected, like or like important. Like even that Valentine's Day dance episode, even that was semi important to the overall storyline because say if the Flash did that, it's just gonna be another Chegger episode. Oh, watch Chegger have sex. It's like it's gonna be one of those. Later on, it's just gonna have what weak ass villain later on. So yeah, that's one thing. That's a one positive I do enjoy about Serena Lois is how it does technically uh is more involved with the uh the storyline. And yeah, the yeah, I literally forgot about the whole Lois you not wanting to do the whole to attack Bruno's personal life. I thought that was a very good thing to do, even if it turns out Peter was bad later on and was a serial killer. But yeah, that's one aspect I forgot to mention. It's probably because I just forgot about it. But yeah,
That's fine. So I will also add more to this because we roasted a little bit the Flash here. Um, Chegra, we don't care about Chegra, and I think the biggest thing is it takes so much space on episode where you feel like something else can happen that really matter, and on top of that, Chester as a character, he feels underdeveloped. Let's be honest. Like his best season was probably season 7 because he was taking over from Cisco, and maybe parts of the Deathstorm arc in season 8, but even there, it didn't go that far. Like Cecile had much more growth. Well, maybe not as a character, but as a meta-human slash superhero at least. And I will take more shots at Allegra. Allegra is a shit character. That's why I don't care about her love relationship and stuff. And when we look at relationship in Superman and Lois, the actors are good, and on top of that, the characters are well written. So Matteo, for example, he had how many scenes? He had maybe like 10 minutes of screen time in 8 episodes, and I care about him because he's likable, he's well written, and this episode was an amazing episode for Matteo because he opens his eye, he realizes what kind of monsters his parents are, and
yeah,
he's not on board with that. And this
yeah,
is these small moments that makes good storytelling and good characters. We don't get that on the Flash. Even the best season of the Flash, we didn't always get that. Um, and I care about Matteo. I care about Natalie. Natalie, her trauma is losing her entire world. Like when she moved to Superman and Lois Earth, uh, she lost her mother. She lost her family, and all she had left was like her father and like her foster family with Superman and Lois and the kids that are basically her half brothers. It's and Natalie backstory is so endearing. She lost everything, and she still keeps up, and she tries so hard to have a normal life, but she has that trauma, and she wants to be a normal teenager, and her father wants the same thing. So I care about John Henry Aaron. I care about Natalie because these are well written characters. I can relate at some extent to what they are living through. Like if I had a child, I can see myself being like John Henry and being suspicious of the boyfriend, or the girlfriend, or whatever. It's just amazing. Um, Now my next like is John Henry Aaron trusting his daughter and letting her go eat at Matteo's house, and it's growth here again with John Henry Aaron because last week that was a point of conflict, and he kind of overcame it by saying he's sorry to Matteo, and this week it's not a redo everything, it's a follow up, it's a sequel. It's like he brought Natalie at the date and he let her do her things. That was amazing. This is wonderful. The writing of the characters is great. Like, the story writing is not always 100% with Superman and Lois, but the writing of the characters and their arc and how they change throughout the season is the strength of the show, I think. Next up would be Chrissy and Clark talking about Lois. After she said she gave up. So I like these Chrissy and Clark scene. Like in season 1 and 2, they didn't add that many scenes because uh, Clark most of the time in these two seasons was more Superman, and this season is much more Clark than season 1 and 2, which is fine because the Clark thing is interesting. I like it a lot. The reporter stuff is just amazing. Um, Chrissy made me laugh. I forgot what she said, but if I mentioned Chrissy made me laugh, she made me laugh. Luther Air, so basically there are teasers that Lex Luthor coming eventually. Cannot wait for that. Lois talking to her father about the case, and man, Sam Lane, amazing. We had Sam Lane in Supergirl, he wasn't that great, but it was really in the background. We had Sam Lane in Smallville, and I liked a lot the Smallville Sam Lane, but I think the Sam Lane in this show just nails it so hard. The actor is amazing. I care so much. He is John Henry Aaron and Sam are the best of the best. I want a spin off with them. um,
Sam Lane's a good, very good character in Syrian Lois. I think he's a really good character in season 3, in my opinion.
it
So yeah,
was
I do agree.
it was also there in 1 and 2. Two, he took a back seat, but this season is really much more there than season 2, and
Yeah,
I like it. Season 2, we had a few Sam Lane's moment here and there. That was mainly training Jordan, because Jordan slowly started being a superhero in season 2. Because he basically got his power in season 1, but that was more about the mastery of the power in season 1. In season 2, that was more like slowly becoming the hero, and he's still
yeah,
in that process right now. And Sam Lane was there for that kind of side. Sam Lane is just great. He is the perfect Sam Lane, I think. And I don't want to take away anything from past Sam Lanes, but yeah, he is just the Sam Lane we needed, the Sam Lane we wanted. It will be really hard to beat that Sam Lane in the future, I think. Um, I said it, Sam Lane is just amazing. Jonathan experiencing his first fire was interesting. You see the whole chaos and him looking and being like, wow. Superboy entering and saving someone Lois getting her mojo back. This is when she realized she wants to be part of the investigation. Sam Lane getting back at dating. Usually, I don't care about that kind of stuff, but knowing Sam backstory, like since his wife died, he didn't really date it, and all he had was like his military life and like both of his daughters. Well, one of the two because the other one was on a cult, but um, regardless, Sam Lane, man, I just like the character a lot, and I want to see more of him. I relate. I think this is the character I can relate the most, and maybe that's why I like him so much. Um, this is funny because he is a character in the story that is maybe like 60 or 70 years old, and I'm 26, and I can freaking relate to that, and I'm not a military guy. So that's to prove that Sam Lane is just a well grounded and well written human being, and I like it. We had funny stuff. Clark and Chrissy investigation. I liked it. Tracy asking more direct question. The girl shaming Clark for his investigation felt real. Bruno Mannheim is amazing. He is more than just a villain. The brothers fight about being heroes. I liked it because it felt like two brother having a fight like brother usually do have. Like one clearly has advantage and he blanks the advantage to say I'm the best. I don't care about the rest. Even if that may sound like it's a jerk thing, but brother rivalry is real. That's all teenagers are most of the time. Um, Sam Lane and Lana scene was great despite my issue with the plot convenience. Um, so yeah, it was the plot convenience, but I think their talk they had was amazing. So it's more like all they kind of planted the seed for that discussion, my issue, than the discussion itself, because the discussion itself was really good. I liked a lot that scene. It's really like the setup that feels off, and it's really on the more script aspect than like exchange between characters. The acting was on point as usual. So even if I got an issue with that, I will still enjoy the point of that scene. Even if it's a plot convenience for me, I don't feel like it's filler. It's important for some character and also Lana because at some extent they are similar. They are like mirrors. Like you can see like Lana struggles because with Cal it didn't go well, and she really loved Cal, and for other reasons Sam Lane really liked his wife, and because of that he could not get back to it. And you can also see that Sam Lane is someone that has wisdom, and he's like, don't do my mistakes, don't become like me, you know? And I like that. It's very human to feel this way and to interact this way with others. Clark connecting the dots and realizing Pia may ended up killing and framing Lex Luthor, and that was amazing. I will say that because Clark is a smart character. He's more than just Superman, and this scene with Clark connecting the dots is proof of it. He is a good reporter. He is a smart person. So it's shown that he is smart, and I like that.
Yeah, unlike Man of Steel.
So taken. I cannot wait to cover like DCU stuff eventually, but I think we will cover MCU before DCU stuff.
Yeah, I can't wait to roast all of Snyder's garbage. It'll be great.
Next up, John Henry Aaron seeing his sister of his double ganger. Um, so I like that because it's some kind of follow up about the past when Bruno Mannheim basically threatened John Henry about retaliation toward the family and stuff. So this is some kind of good follow up, and I think that scene is way back in like episode 3 or 4. So this showcased that they really know what to do. They have a plan for the season, and they stick to the plan for the season. I don't know if they have a multi-season plan, but I do know they have at least each year they have mapped out like the season plots and they remember stuff. And this is why it's so well written at its core, and this is why the show is well done. They remember, they build up stuff. They don't leave you like filler dialogue or filler scene. Everything comes together at some point. Uh, Next up, John Henry Iron realizing Bruno Mannheim is Mattheo's father. That was one of the best. He just walks into the restaurant. He's not scared, and Bruno Mannheim is like, "Man, I'm gonna beat the crap out of you." Bruno Mannheim framing Lex Luthor for murder was great, and you see one of the most interesting thing about this scene in the restaurant. I felt tension. I was like, will they kill John Henry here and give like motivation for Natalie to just beat the crap down out of Bruno Mannheim? I don't want John Henry Aaron to die, but that's the tension I felt. And this is like Bruno Mannheim effect, you know, and I was like, no, don't kill off John Henry here. Please don't. I was really worried because you guys know how I feel with that character, but regardless, I feel like Superman and Lois is grounded in a way where nobody is really safe. And I feel like
Yeah.
anybody can simply die outside of maybe Clark and Lois. But even Clark he can be brought back. But maybe Lois is the only exception in the cast that cannot really die. But I feel like maybe like the kids can die, or Sam Lane at some point will maybe end up dying, even if I don't want that. Like I feel like the show is
Yeah.
grounded enough to like not shy away from killing off characters.
Yeah. I think this is just a prediction. I think either Sam Lane would probably die around like season 4 or season 5, if they even get that far. As for, yeah, Lois could possibly die by the end of the season. That's a prediction. The kids, I know Jordan cannot because he's Kryptonian. Jonathan probably more likely. Again, those are just some predictions of mine.
Yeah, but I don't think they will kill off. Like, if they could get creative and use it, tap into the multiverse and get another Lois from another Earth, but then that would defeat a bit of the purpose of the show having a family show and stuff. That's why I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
she is probably the less likely to die. But maybe they will take that freedom and kill her off and like bring another Lois from another Earth or something like that. Um, but I don't think so. The idea could be interesting, but I don't think they will do that. That's like the one person that's safe from dying. I think. Yeah. So next up, Bruno Mannheim saving Pia. Matteo being angry at his father felt real. John Henry Aaron speaking to Clark. Sam Lane is just amazing. John Henry Aaron protecting his daughter felt amazing. The end sequence showing everyone what they are doing and what's going on with them, including Bizarro waking up. That entire like 2-3 minutes by the end of the episode was amazing, and there was no word said. It was just like pictures and pictures. It was like watching a movie, and like that moment where you're taking a break, and this just ended the episode on a very high note, I believe. So I I think that season is a blast. It's a masterpiece for me so far. No episode is perfect. I think I only gave a 10 out of 10 so far. But outside of that, man, that episode was great. Except if you guys would like to add more to this, I think we can move to the grades out of 10.
yeah. Not for me.
Okay. What about you, Cole? Do you want to add something else before we move on to the grade out of 10?
Just a question. I'm sorry, just a question. Who do you think is most likely to die by the end of the season?
I don't want that, but I think John Henry Aaron. Because he took so many
That's
risks,
a shame.
and that would make the most impact on everyone, because that's like Natalie last relative, the last person from Natalie Earth, and it will be freaking sad because I said it many times over. John Henry Aaron is my favorite supporting character. He's equal to
Yeah,
Sam
he's
Lane.
my favorite character in the show. But yeah. What would you say would be what would you say would be more breaking than the I forgot their names, but you've seen Stargirl. When both her parents died near the end of the show.
Oh, Natalie will lose his shit or shit. Natalie will be broken if she loses John Henry Aaron, and
Yeah, so would you say it would be more so than in Stargirl?
I think it's very different because in Stargirl, um, she had already like very aggressive nature and impulsive nature, and that was mainly because that's the way she was raised. Natalie, she wasn't raised like that. I think
I see.
when it comes to me as a viewer, I will be more sad about John Henry Aaron than the parents, even if they did amazing job with the parents by the end of Stargirl, even if they did amazing job there and I cared and I cried. I think John Henry Aaron was just irregular for 3 seasons and he pulled his own weight. So me as a viewer, maybe John Henry Aaron death would impact me more. But when it comes to kids, I think Artemis was the one that went the most crazy because of the way she was raised. But they can still play it off well with Natalie, and I'm sure they will honor well John Henry Aaron if they kill him off. I'm sure it will be a respectful way to kill him off, and it will really like leave an impact. And if they really do that, I'm kind of excited by it, but I'm also sad because I really like John Henry Aaron. He's just so great, man. He is amazing. I like him so much.
Yeah. I personally think they might kill John Henry Irons around, I think around maybe next season or season 4, because that's usually season 4 for some superhero shows, mainly Arrow, is the season where they start to kill off some characters. So I think that's what they're probably gonna do.
Hold on, if they get a season 4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Since we
yeah,
are
and
into that topic right now, I've heard rumors that only one of the two DC show will be renewed. So either it's Gotham Knights or Superman and Lois, and I've also heard.
Oh, well.
let's
I
hope it's Gotham Knights.
I've also heard that Gotham Knights is cheaper, so it will be most likely the one that survives. So this is a good
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
news for
that because
DC and a very sad news for me and Cole.
yeah, like here's the thing. Yeah, I think like obviously, I mean, Superman and Lois is yeah that we have that, and then you look at Gotham Knights and the ratings, and it's like, why would they choose Gotham Knights over Superman
Cheaper.
and Lois? That seems dumb.
Cheaper.
Yeah, well, again, that's one reason, but you also have to remember, like if they have still they've done a lot with Superman and Lois, even if they want to do a final season, and they could like do like a special or telling them in advance, make like 1 or 2 last episodes to close it out or whatnot, or maybe they already did. So they already did a lot, and CW likes to try to at least. I mean, I don't even think Constantine was their show, so I'm not even gonna
No,
count
it
it.
wasn't
But yeah,
their show. It was It was
Exactly. Like
another
CW
level.
likes to try to at least do 2 to 3 seasons for each show to at least have like a fulfilled, mostly fulfilled, like arc and everything for each show, no matter how badly criticized it is. Like they even did it with Batwoman, they still got it to 3 seasons despite its criticism and everything in reviews. So I feel like Gotham Knights, with that, and also still the TV like watch numbers are getting, like no matter how hated it is, they're still gonna, for those reasons, push through and do it over Superman and Lois because of that, and they'll at least get it to like 2 or 3 seasons at least, and because Superman and Lois have already done a lot with, I guess you could say, but also because there'll be now competition in 2025 with the main universe, Superman, so they don't really want that, and they already have enough of it with the Batman and then the main universe Batman, I guess. So they probably wouldn't want that. So that's probably why they'll choose Gotham Knights over it, if I had to guess. I don't see CW ever canceling a show after 1 season, no matter how horribly it's getting
They
reviewed
already
by
did,
people.
bro. Naomi was the worst superhero TV show I've ever seen. That was
Oh,
terrible.
okay.
Yeah,
It
yeah, and
ended
there,
Here's
after
the
one
thing.
yeah,
season.
Okay. Yeah, that's the exception, but that's because that was like not even like a character literally anybody has ever heard of. Like I'm talking about like actual like names that like people know, like Gotham Knights,
Yeah,
like Black Lightning, like Titans, like Superman and Lois, like the Flash, like
yeah.
I'm talking about names like that. Like I'm sure, yeah, like stuff like Naomi. It's like, God, it's like you would think like it was like an original creation they
No,
made.
they
'Cause
were comics.
yeah, I know, but you would think it
Yeah.
was their own creation because nobody fucking heard that shit. So that was the exception. They could just like quickly sweep that under the rug. And also because like did they even make it through a full 1 season, or did they cancel it after like a few episodes?
They got a full season, but it ended on a cliffhanger.
That's hilarious.
And that's a terrible cliffhanger.
Hey, you know what they should do? They should have the cliffhanger be, sorry, what was the cliffhanger? Actually explain it, since we don't care.
So what happened? She learned that her foster parent are the reason why her true parent died, and then she decides to fly away with really bad CGI.
Oh, I saw that lion scene. That was hilarious, but
Even
okay, so
me,
this
that
is
don't complain about CGI, I was like, "What the fuck am I watching?"
okay, so yes, yeah, so hold on, this is, yeah, that was actually like fucking like that was the same level of CGI I actually saw in like there were like parody videos celebrity made, like roasting their own characters, like I know Halle
Even these
Berry
parody
made
do it better, bro.
yeah,
Look,
like
I was watching to the end because I wanted to review and roast the crap out of the show, and I really wanted to be fair. I really wanted to give the show a chance, but this is terrible. And you know what? We will cover that eventually, just to roast the shit out
nice.
of
Okay,
it.
so no, here's the thing though, like uh fucking hell, there was like this one parody video I know I saw, like it was after the Catwoman casting for the Batman was announced. Yeah, Halle Berry made like a parody video of her garbage Catwoman making fun of it, and then there was like a parody scene of it of her just like floating away. It was that was supposed to be made to look as laughable as possible, and it looked better than that end scene in Naomi. So that's hilarious. But okay, but this is what they're gonna do with the character. All right. Okay, so she flies away. All right, and then all right, but then all right, they're gonna have the Suicide Squad 2. All right, she's gonna show up. All right, that's where she'll land in the during the Suicide Squad 2. Be like, yeah, I just learned my powers and everything. Yeah, hey, I'm joining the suit, and then she gets shot in 5 seconds. Done. Is her character. That's how they'll complete her character, right?
So I also heard something else. So if CW cancels Superman and Lois, there are possibility that HBO Max pick the show back up because season one was uh, partly made by HBO Max and CW. They had like some kind of deal. So there are rumors that if Superman and Lois doesn't get picked up by CW, HBO Max may pick it up for for a fourth season. And there are also rumors that if it's indeed cancelled, they will actually give a fourth season, but a limited run instead of like 15 episodes. That would be like 10 episodes or less. So I've heard a lot of different things from a lot of different sources, and yeah, I'm worried. I'm a huge fan of the show. I Even if season two was a step down from season one, it was still very strong, and I enjoyed it a lot. Season three is amazing. It's among of the third season and many superhero TV show. This is one of the best third season. The only thing that comes close to this is probably Black Lightning third season, but even there, I think Superman and Lois third season is slightly better. Stargirl third season is obviously better. I think it's the best live action season. I think of any show I watched. I really like a lot Stargirl third season, and as we speak about that, I really want to rewatch the entire show again because that show was amazing, man. I like it so much. Um, but yeah, let's go back to our animals. I forgot the expression. Um,
We can give the rating.
yeah, rating. What would be
Yeah.
your rating out of 10, Cole?
7.5.
What about you, DC?
A 7.
Very interesting. I like that. I'm not crazy this time around. So I gave a 9.7 out of 10. It's like the average number for me this season. So yeah, I like it a lot. This season is really strong. Yeah, it's just very fun and enjoyable to watch. I always watch that after Gotham Night just to forget how bad the previous show was. That's also why it's like that in our lineup and the topics. Um, so yeah, I think we are done for Superman and Lois for now. So the next topic is Titans, and then we will speak again on like Friday to Saturday night. So basically,
Yep.
Saturday 1 a.m. So I cannot wait to speak about Rocky and Creed with you, DC and Cole and Chillmonger.
Yep.
That will be amazing. I will be glad to present to you, Chillmonger, DC. I'm
Yep.
sure the both of you will get along well.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, um, man, thank you very much for coming, DC. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Okay, so are we,
Titan.
oh, are you just giving the outro for DC?
Yeah.
Okay, my bad. I misheard. I thought, oh wait, it's the stream ended? I thought we had one last topic.
Yeah, we still have DC.
My bad.
So, yeah. Titan. Bruh.
Yeah, this was the last topic, right?
Yeah. That's why DC left.
Now here's the thing. Yeah, here's the thing. I want you to say what you thought first, because I want to know, like, just what did you think first?
I need to
Just
find
both
my
episodes
notes.
in general.
1 sec, I need to find my notes. Okay.
Because I will say this actually. This was surprisingly, didn't like this as much as probably at least the second last. The last, I don't know. It might be like middle in the pack or upper middle, but for the second last, it might be my second best episode this season actually, and in this show. But that's not saying much because it's been horrendous in my opinion. But I actually didn't mind it, and yeah, it still had all the stupid. And again, I'll pretty much just say my review for the second last episode now, but again, it had all of the stupid stuff that every Titans episode has. right? Like, do I need to like repeat all of it? You know, right? Right, multi.
I forgot. There's a blank in my mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of stupid, in my opinion, at least, but and you know, I'm not a big fan of the acting in this and a lot of the action, but it was actually the visuals in this I actually really enjoyed in this second last episode. I thought they did a lot of cool stuff, and especially with the gore and the lighting and other things. It actually felt like these last two episodes they spent their entire season budget on them to go out with a bang. Be funny. But yeah, I actually kind of enjoyed that, and I kind of enjoyed the characters in the second last episode actually. And yeah, there's some dumb things, but overall I didn't mind it, and like the characters, how they like filled some certain things, and you know, with the villain and such. Like I did not actually mind it at all. I thought they did some interesting things, and it's not anything you know too special. And again, still has a lot of stupid stuff. But for the most part, though, I think it was an improvement over many of the other episodes this season, if not pretty much all besides like one or two. So I did not mind this episode actually. I'd probably actually say it was maybe decent, half decent. So yeah, I don't know if I'm just going crazy, or if I was just in a good mood and being generous. You know, 'cause it's the last two, so I was like, yay, finally. But I don't know. So yeah, I want to hear what you thought because of that. I want to know if I'm like crazy or not. But I didn't mind this one. I mean, at least in comparison.
Episode 11 much more than 12. I will start by saying that.
But yeah, no, episode 12 was a lot worse, but I also didn't hate that either. But
So
there were things that were just horrendous in episode 12, and we'll get to it.
I will say something I already said before about other season. It feels like I can enjoy a lot the individual episode, but the overall season and the storyline, or like the script itself, it's not that great. And even if we end up with a few really strong episodes, in the end the season is not that great. And episode 11, I actually liked it a lot, but I feel like most of the episode in the back half, I enjoyed them much more than the first half. The first half had some of the most terrible episode ever made in history. But it started off really rough, and I think episode 11 was enjoyable. I only had two issues with episode 11. The first issue would be pacing. I feel like that episode could have been trimmed down, but that's something that is coming again and again and again with Titans. I just feel like,
to be fair, it's the second last, so I mean, would you say there was anything in it though that was unneeded?
it's more
Because
like
I feel
time,
like even if there were,
time spent in some scenes, but that was early in the episode.
I mean, I get that. Like honestly, I'll be honest. In these last two episodes, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is pretty long. You know, with how long these episodes were, but I think they did that to really like try to like make you again get the feel of like the characters of what they're going through, and
Yeah.
spend like the last bit of time with them before realizing that shit's gonna go down. So I think it was important.
Yeah, I won't say entire scenes would be deleted. I feel like some of the scenes you can trim them down with Titans, because they like so much
Yeah.
showing. They like to pretend they are better than what they are, and
Oh, yeah, that's definitely true.
that
Yeah.
bothers me so much when a movie or a TV show does that. I'm like,
Yeah.
bruh,
I
why?
mean,
Why?
would
You're
you
not good.
would you say? Yeah, exactly, and that's Titans in a nutshell. But would you say that Stargirl had some issues with that in like the opening scene, sort of with like the I forgot what the her father character's name is, but when it seemed like at the start of each episode of season 3, he would have like a conversation with his wife that lasted like 8 minutes. Like, did you ever have an issue with that, or do you think all those minutes or seconds spent were needed in Stargirl in
To
comparison
be
to
honest,
this?
I don't fully remember. I remember having a few issues here and there with some of the episode, but season 3, I remember giving a lot of 10 out of 10. When I give a
Oh,
10
yeah.
out of 10, this means I don't have any issue. I don't see the pacing or anything. I just cannot give an episode a 10 out of 10 if I see one issue. If I see one issue, usually, except if the issue is kind of big, I take out more than that. But if it's just a normal issue, like for example, pacing in Titan, the episode dropping to a 9.7 out of 10 instead of 10. That's all my points works. And I remember with Stargirl having enjoyed so much. I can't remember exactly, but there were at least 3 or 4 episodes I gave it 10. I can surely say that, and I don't remember Stargirl 3rd season ever going back down 9, under 9. And if it's a 9 for me, that means there's like 3 or 4 issues here and there. So I don't think Stargirl had that, and maybe it's because of the actors in Stargirl, or the direction, or how much I cared more about these characters in Titans. They can be a lot of explanation on why I don't think I had that kind of issues with Stargirl. Pacing issue, most of the time I notice pacing. Either it's because I don't care about what's going on with the characters, or I don't care about the story, or both. Sometimes when I don't care about the characters and the story, if I feel like it's dragging on, I mark it down. If I'm like, yeah, they could have trimmed this one down, it's pacing. But I don't remember Stargirl having that kind of issue. Yes, they were long talk, but I feel like the performance, they were good enough, the writing, that was good enough, the dialogue and all, and everything around worked well. With Titan, when I mentioned pacing, it's just because I don't care about the entire scene where they take their time. Look, they speak so long, so slowly, just to fill fucking time. Instead of having 40-minute episodes, you have a 51-minute episode or a 55-minute episode. You're like, bruh, I don't care about these two. Stargirl, I don't remember feeling that. Maybe in season 1 or 2, but I think season 3 was the peak of Stargirl TV show, and I think it was near perfection. I think that was the first time around I actually give a show a 10 out of 10 for a season. And I think that's the only 10 out of 10 for a season I ever gave. Even Daredevil, I really like Daredevil, but I never really gave a 10 out of 10 to any season. I think the highest season I gave was a 9.7 with season 2. And I think season 1 was like 9.5 or 9-ish. Anyway, Stargirl, when they had long talk, I didn't watch the clock until the scene ends. I didn't feel like they could have turned it down. I don't remember that. But Titan, I remember seeing that because Titan is so poorly executed sometimes. It's like, bruh, why? The other issue I had with this 11th episode of Titan, the guy in the alley can't freaking aim. Bruh, you got the gun, you aim, and you shoot. That's simple. That's easy. Why don't you do it? Oh my. I'm sure you're laughing.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like every Titans review each week, it's like they can't freaking aim.
What's aiming?
Aiming. I don't know. I think the only aiming that the script writers can really do is like aiming for like prizes in the claw machine. When it comes to like, you know, to aim properly with guns, they just write whatever.
Just pretend you're shooting. It's acting. Pretend you shoot.
Yeah. And you know, if they were to film this realistic and they had the characters do that while those fucking enemies were shooting like that, they would just get mowed down. Holy fuck, so fast.
Anyway, I enjoyed
And, you know,
episode
there's
11
like
a
one
lot.
film we're gonna cover in the future.
I'm sorry, continue.
So, episode 11, I liked Sebastian reacting to the media, telling he's guilty of hiding side effect. Connor was enjoyable. Team Drake appearing in Gotham. Fight choreography was actually decent this week. Drake getting overpowered. I liked it. That was in the alley. At some point, he gets overpowered by some of the thugs. That shows that Drake still needs training, and I like that. Um, Jason meeting Drake, it was enjoyable. Talking to Raven, Sebastian talking to Connor about getting his power back. Connor trying to convince Sebastian that his mother uses him. Jason Todd, Jason training Drake, Lex plan, Team Drake beating down the thugs in the alley while Jason was watching. Connor turning evil at, well, we were led to believe he was turning evil, but he wasn't. It was still with the Titans. Jason, it was enjoyable, man. The only episode Jason really had was great this season. That kind of fixed and redeemed the character for me. After season 3, I was like, oh yeah, Jason, I'm not really on board anymore with him. I thought the best seasons for Jason was season 1 and bits of 2. Connor explaining what he's been doing to Dick. Connor, Sebastian versus the mother. Sebastian killing his mother. And the ending with the teaser and stuff. With Connor being down and stuff. I don't have much more to say because that episode is far in my memory. I've seen it like 2 weeks ago. Because that was 2 weeks ago. Well, almost 2 weeks. I gave a 9.5 out of 10. What about you?
For episode 11?
Yeah.
Yeah, so throughout the season, been consistent around like a 1.5 to 4 out of 10.
Yeah.
And then there was like one episode this season where I gave like a 5 out of 10. This episode, 5 out of 10.
Oh, that's good. You really liked it. I also liked it. I will repeat myself. I feel like the back half after the break, it was much better than before the break. Before the break, man, some of the episodes were really, really rough. They were among the worst the show ever aired. And the first half will really damage this season. Like, I will be honest here. If the entire season was like the back half, like what we got after the break, I think I would have liked that season much more. And I feel like maybe that season would be around a 8, maybe a 9. But the first half is so bad. I remember, like, I can't remember which episode number, but there was an episode I literally gave like a 1 or a 2. I was like with you, on board with you. I remember that episode where the fight choreography was so bad. People had plot armor and oh my, that was like the zombie apocalypse like episode. That was really early. The script, the story, everything was wrong.
Yeah. Okay, well, episode 12, I guess.
Yeah, episode 12.
Okay, so I'm just looking quickly. I forgot if I wrote down any notes for this one, but so I'll sum up this like kind of episode for you though. For me, this had the same sort of things episode 11 did. That was why I liked it so much. All the things like the visuals and how it was made and such, and certain characters. I actually liked it a lot more this time than like almost every other episode this season. It's like they finally decided to try and put all their resources into it at the very end. It's like, holy shit, they finally decided to try somewhat. However, there are things holding it back to the point where I honestly don't even know how where to like rate it quite yet. I'm actually gonna like listen to you talk and maybe it'll help me decide where to rate it. But because of the issues with it, I'm definitely not rating it like a 5 out of 10 or anything, but it would probably be at worst like a 3 out of 10. Still, it's still not like terrible, but there are some things I really hated, but about this that really dragged it down. That mainly though, I'm just gonna say like the big one. I just hated the whole climax. It's like they and the ending sort of. All right, it was trying to do aspects like other Titans like shows like the animated thing did before with certain climaxes and endings and characters like sacrifices and such, with it being Titans, from the comics. But it did it so much worse, and it did it so stupidly and sloppily, and oh, it was done so horribly, and to the point where I didn't even know what was like going on, and it's like they didn't explain it too well. So it's like they ran out of time to write character dialogue in certain points. It was just horribly choreographed, that whole climax and such, and beating the villain, and then the very end, and then they did that stupid shit at the end to just like it's like they didn't want to take any risks with the characters, have a sad thing. So it's like they did, and it's just like I wanted to if they left it how it was, I would have at least gave them credit. But then they did that, just because they were too cowardly, and I wanted to slam my head against my desk. It was just so painful what they decided to do there. It was just so that kind of climax or ending was
defend that. Maybe I got something to say when I sorry to cut you off. It's
I don't know. I'll just say to me, I will say to me, maybe it's not like as bad in your opinion, but again, there's animated shows of Titans and comics and such that did the same thing the live action show did in the climax and such, and beating the villain. And I just think all those did it better. So that was a big reason for me.
To defend this, I think in the original ending, they wanted to like seemingly kill off Raven, but maybe that would be a plot point for season 4 where we get season 5. I mean, yeah, season 5. That's already 4. But yeah, maybe the idea was like they seemingly kill off Raven or Starfire or whatever, and season 5, like Starfire would be reborn or something, but she would be someone else, something else, like not necessarily the Stargirl the Starfire we know from the show.
But because they had to end it, then they just shoved that thing at the end.
Yeah, I think that's what
okay. That makes sense, but I'm still not gonna, I'm gonna let them a little loose on it against here and that, but at the end, it's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, it's still bad. And those Titans has been mostly bad for me, so I'm not gonna give them too much of a free pass, but I'm gonna give them a little bit of a free pass after hearing that. But still, even then, though, just how it was like the scenes and stuff were executed, like sacrifice there, that scene was just it was choreographed and executed and paced and positioned, and the scene, it was just weird how they did it there. It was so confusing, and especially to write in during it and with the characters, it was just odd. And yeah, good night DC. But yeah, so that was the biggest issue with me there. And again, there's positives to this episode for me, just like episode 11, where this is definitely not a terrible episode, but yeah, there's mainly the climax, but also some other things here and there really held it back. And yeah, again, I don't know quite where to rate it, but maybe after hearing you to talk about it a bit more, I'll understand maybe where I'll rate it. I don't know, but yeah, anyway, you can go
okay.
now. I guess I pretty much said everything.
So, I will say this. I've seen many superhero TV shows, as you know it, and a lot of them finish on their own term, which is always amazing. And here, it got cancelled. And I will actually place it side by side with other cancelled shows. I feel like Stargirl, their other ending, was much better than Titan, and it felt like an ending. This show, it felt like a new beginning, and I think that's the second, like, I've heard behind the scenes stuff way back before the break and stuff at the moment where Titan and Stargirl were told canceled, around the same time they were basically saying, when they were shooting Titan, they told Titan people, look, make two ending, one ending if you get a season 5 and one ending if you're cancelled. So they kind of knew that, but they knew it a bit too far in the process, you know, like they were almost done making season 4 when they basically heard that season 4 was the last. So they didn't really, like, they didn't know that would be the last, but the possibility of it being the last was there. So the second ending, the one we basically got because the show got cancelled, it's very sad because it doesn't feel like a proper ending. It really feels uh, like a new beginning, as I said earlier. And with Stargirl, it feels like they told the story they wanted, even if they said a lot of things that happen off screen. Feels like Stargirl's story is over. Like after season 3 of Stargirl, Stargirl save Sylvester, and they got other adventure, and this is how that happened in the time skip, you know. And Titan, it's just like, yeah, the new beginning is we go to school, we have normal lives again. So that's how I feel. I will say this: most of my issue in this week episode are issues I had in the early part of the season and in the entire show. In fact, I repeat myself a lot with the issues I got with the show. So the first thing is they don't explain Raven powers. It's just do whatever the plot wants you to do. Amazing, right? Amazing. Magic does magic stuff. Great. Plot convenience. The love interest happened to wake up when Sebastian attacks Starlab, and he basically helps out the Titan to take down Sebastian. That bothered me because if he wasn't in Starlab, the Titan would never have gotten any help there. So that's what I think. Really weak plot convenience. I hate that. When plot convenience happen, I mention them. Here again, another issue I already mentioned many times with the show. Magic just does whatever the plot wants it to do. I'm so tired of this crap. Titan, you can do better. Now, I will say something else about this specific episode. I had some kind of apathy. Like, there's lots of things I didn't care for, and I didn't have much to say. I have a few issues, I have a few likes, but this episode didn't feel like a series finale. I know they got cancelled. Stargirl got cancelled, they got a better ending. Daredevil, Netflix Daredevil got cancelled, and I feel like they had a better ending because they did add a cliffhanger you can simply cut, and the episode is still watchable, and you still feel like season 3 ended and the story they wanted to tell was told. With Titan, it's just a new beginning. I really hate when you end your thing on a new beginning. And this is funny because Smallville kind of did what Titan did, but here's the thing. Superman, or I should say Smallville itself, was meant to be the origin story of Superman. So even if at the end of Smallville, Clark becomes Superman, that was the point of the show. And I was kind of fine with that new beginning because that's the origin. But Titan, I feel like they were already the Titan, and the way they end things, they are no more the Titan. Okay, it's kind of sad. You know, do you know what I mean?
I get what you mean, because, I mean, it's not like this was like an origin story or anything. This is just Titans, you know.
Yeah.
So to end it like this is just yeah.
So I have a few likes. Sebastian killing Trigon was fine. Dick trying to save Connor, I liked it. Titan versus Sebastian, I like the fight. Sebastian, again, is enjoyable. I think as a villain, he was decent. It was actually the best villain Titan had, I believe. Well, actually, I like Dr. Train a lot in the third season. So that's between Sebastian and Dr. Crane. Uh, the team realizing Sebastian plan to use Corey. Sebastian plan and fear. Action sequence. Big fight versus Brother Blood. Corey killing Sebastian, the Titan last dinner, and Dick talking to Connor. So, that's it. Titan this season was better than season 1 for sure. It was slightly better than season 2, but the bar was really low with season 2, so I don't know if it's a compliment. I think the best season
Probably
the show had
not.
was 3. So, what were you about to say?
Oh, no, I was just nothing. I was just saying, yeah, I kind of agree.
So,
Oh, yeah, anyway, my rating, I guess, for this episode would be, I guess, I'll be a bit generous at 3.5.
okay, so my score would be 8 out of 10. I don't have that many issues, but I do wait. And even if it's an 8, overall the season, as I said earlier, I was able to enjoy a lot of the episode, but I don't think this season is any good. um, so, yeah, 8 out of 10 for me this episode. Episode 11 was better. And it's a bit sad because I really wanted to defend the show. And, yeah, score for the season would be 6.5 out of 10, since I think the first half was rough, while the back half was actually very enjoyable for me. I know it's far away, but do you remember roughly what happened with the first half?
Not too much. I remember there's some sort of conflict with one of the main characters, and that's it.
Okay. So basically, Connor was in prison for a time because they blamed Lex Luthor death on him. What else happened? Raven basically lost her power, but got her power back for some reason. Because they fought magic, they needed Jinx, and Jinx got killed off, and I'm shocked they didn't brought her back. Maybe that's the right issue there. So yeah, they also like kind of protected Sebastian for a time because they thought he was the target of a cult, which was the case, but they didn't realize he would become the leader of the cult. um, so yeah, what would be your grade out of 10 for the entire season?
Uh, 3.
3 out of 10 for
Maybe.
the season? Okay.
Yeah, probably. That or a 3.5 around that.
So yeah, that was sad that it got cancelled, but it's not such a big loss because it wasn't the best the best show ever. Even me, I see the flaws. I mean, the best season of the show had a 7 for me, and a 7 is average. It's sad. People will remember Titan as being that fart in the wind.
Pretty much.
So,
Yeah, I will say the actors from it are actually getting some other work in film, so that's at least nice to see. Because usually that doesn't happen as often. They usually stick to TV. So yeah.
so yeah, I think we are kind of done with Titan, except if you'd like to share something else.
That's about it. Pretty
So
much done.
I am ready for our season finale 2 weeks from now. I did both tier lists, man. Do you know how long it took me to create the tier list for our movies?
Probably took a while because um, um, like I create lists for fun in my free time, but that's on Letterbox. On a tier list site, it is held, like especially with gathering all the images, putting them in a folder, making sure they're the most good visible ones, so you know what the movies are because they have an image size problem, and then just setting it all up. It's fucking hell. I'm trying to do that right now for this one. It's gonna be a huge project. I have to say though, is there a limit for how many images you can put in a tier list, like entries, when you make one?
On tier list maker, I think it's more of a weight. Um, I know my Flash one has 184. So I think it's around 200, but
I see.
yeah, that's around 200. But it's weight. So basically, what happened the first time around? It took me roughly 2 hours to collect all of the wallpapers, and this is funny because some of the movies we covered this season, I wasn't able to find any picture. So like, okay, maybe 2 or 3 movie won't appear in our tier list. So in the end, I was able to gather 65 pictures, and among these 65, there are a few that are not related at all to the movie, but I will recognize them because here's the thing. When I tried to have that folder on tier list maker, it was too heavy. So I used the picture generated thing on tier maker. So this means I needed to individually put each single picture in that picture
Damn.
generating thing.
And in the future, I would say don't even bother with the tier list thing. What I would try to do is maybe make like a try doing letterbox lists instead because it's so much easier to put together. And you can't do the tier list like S tier, A tier with it, but you can. It can be like a list in order from like best to worst, basically like 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can basically like do that, or and you can just say like a movie's like B tier, so you'll put it somewhere, and then you'll say like another movie's A tier, so you'll just put that ahead of it somewhere. You can just do it like that. It won't be on like a actual tier list of images, but it's a lot easier and better because there's no like limit, and it's a lot less stressful. It's a lot easier to put together, and it's a lot better letterbox list. But or what people do is, I mean, there's movies that exist that are just titled like, okay, I don't know what. Oh, screenshot. Yeah, that. Yeah. What? Oh, nice. You're showing me. Okay. Yeah. Well, basically, there's like movies available that are just titled like A, B, C, D, E, F. So what a lot of people do is they literally just have like they put that in their list, each of them as like bars, and then they put the movies in between them, basically. Yeah, I would like look into it next time you try making it. It could be a lot easier and less stressful.
So I will say this: this was gratifying when I finally made it work. That's very gratifying, and I cannot wait to do that tier list 2 weeks from now. We got 65 movies. Yes, we covered around 70 movie this season. That's quite a
Oh, it's
lot, and
fucking raining outside. Jesus.
it's amazing, man. Uh,
Uh,
Even if it took me a long
and,
time, I did other stuff in the background, so uh, it wasn't that bad,
nice.
but um, it was
I
gratifying.
would just say next time look into Letterbox. It could be a lot easier. You could before it more. Just look into it.
Yeah, I will look into it, but I think we will keep using that, man. Even if it's long, man, the
Yeah, I
satisfaction
mean
in the end.
probably because I will say like you don't. The letterbox thing is more for like if you're reaching like a limit of like over 100. Like with this, we won't. It will be like around like 80 max or something. So, and it's probably easier for your stream. So it'll probably be better sticking to this. But you know, it's a lot. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, but if you were to like, I guess it would only work best if you were like to combine TV show and movies. I guess with the limit of that. But I don't know. Yeah,
So
we'll
I
see.
also made the TV show one, but the TV show one, since there's less TV show, that was actually a piece of cake. That one was easy. I didn't need to generate different picture. Um, there we go. Now you should see. Is it the right one? TV shows. There we go. So this one was funny because since the picture were smaller, I didn't need to send them all on the generator. So I just uploaded the folder. um, we recognize most of the picture. When there's several seasons, this will get a bit tricky, but this was much easier than the movies. uh, because we got less, you know. Um, so yeah, I'm very excited to cover these two tier lists with the both of you. So, man, that was amazing. I cannot wait to have Jada the fanboy eventually. I really hope we can make this work. Um, so yeah, um, Friday, 11 p.m. for you, and 1 a.m. for me and DC because we have the same time zone. Um, we will have Chillmonger on. I'm glad. It's been like a good 6 7 months. We haven't seen him on the channel. Maybe 8 months actually. A long time, man. A long time. So, um, man, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, no closing thoughts. That's it.
Thank you very much for your time every week, man. I like doing that podcast with you and DC. This is amazing. Season 2, much
Yeah,
better than 1 because we are 3 on a regular basis. That's amazing.
yeah, and also just remember, because again, it might be you might forget, you know, since we still have the movie thing scheduled for Friday for this week or Saturday. But yeah, just remember you can start watching the ones for the 23rd now. I guess the
Yeah,
movies and the TV shows, just so you don't forget.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I definitely yeah, this week was a lot easier for me because I saw the three Creed films already recently, and Rocky Balboa basically just needed to rewatch the fucking fifth one again, and then the TV shows. The next week though, it's been a little while since I saw at least the three Alien films there, so I'm gonna have to rewatch those, and then also I'll probably rewatch the other two as well.
yeah. Man, you are an amazing co-host. Thank you, DC, if you're still listening or if you're still around. Thank you a lot for you as well. I had a blast, man. Each week is amazing. I'm very excited about Friday, and I will title Friday bonus number 1, and our Galaxy Guardian of the Galaxy thingy will be bonus number 2. So yeah, that's great, man. I'm glad for having you, and thank you very much Take care, man. Have a good night.
Mhm.
And chat, like, comment, and subscribe. Have a good one, man.
You too.